Thank you, thank you. Please be seated.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm total. If we go this time, I'm going.
What's that?
Did you go once before?
Where's the agenda?
I remember you told me that you would do that. You wouldn't go back? No? Did you go to the Great Wall? Okay. Yeah. Right. That's funny.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North Miami's. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular city council. I want to thank everyone for coming and hope you will have a wonderful time with us tonight. I want to take this opportunity to thank Honorable Judge Zachary James. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank Honorable Pastor A.D. Lenore of Westview Baptist Church. Thank you. And I want to thank Pastor Fanfan from Shalom Community Center. And good evening, everyone. And again, welcome to our regular council meeting. And now I invite Pastor A.D. Lenoir from Westview Baptist Church to lead us with the invocation, followed by Honorable Judge Zachary James with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. What happened?
Let us pray. Father, now we thank you for the honorable privilege to come before your throne again. We ask now that you would be with us in our great city. Bless our leaders, from our mayor down to the moppers. Father, we ask that you would give peace, guidance, and direction. Because we know if you give us peace, we'll have peace. If you give us guidance, we'll be guided. And we ask that you would cover us, protect us, and shield us. And as this meeting closes, when it does, don't let us meet anybody by incident or accident, but only by your divine providence. We pray in the most powerful and righteous name. Amen.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the council. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Zach James. I'm one of your newest county court judges. I appreciate you letting me lead you tonight in the Pledge of Allegiance. I also want to, at this time, extend my thoughts and prayers to the people of Jamaica and Cuba who have just dealt with the massive earthquake earlier today. They'll be in our heart and our minds and our prayers. At this time, if you are able to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can you do roll call, please?
Councilwoman Estime Irvin,
Present.
Vice Mayor Desilme,
He's here.
Mayor Bieneme,
Here.
Councilman Galvin,
Here.
Councilwoman Keys.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum to proceed.
Thank you very much, Acting City Manager. Do we have any addition, deletion, amendment, or deferral to the agenda?
Yes, sir. At this time, I would like to remove from the agenda completely tabs E, J, K, L, and O.
Can you repeat it
Right,
again?
go a little
Can you-
slower.
wait, wait.
I'd like to remove completely from the agenda this evening tab E, J, K, L, and O.
J, K, L, and O.
And I'm gonna pull off of
Wait,
the,
wait, wait.
okay.
And O.
And I'm pulling off of the consent agenda tab F, G, and H for discussion.
Tab F.
G, and H for discussion.
H.
Also, we will not be doing the first quarter budget and financial presentation. The budget director is out this week. So we're gonna follow that up next meeting. We'll have that presentation.
Okay. Are we still having the Red Garden update?
I'm still doing a Red Garden update, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk,
Madam,
is,
Madam.
sorry. Mr. City Attorney, is the agenda set?
Yes, Mayor, the agenda is set. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. We have one special presentation. Is the employee of the quarter.
You going down?
Yeah, sorry.
Should we call the personnel department or what department? Public Works? Whistler Pierre Louis, please come forward for your presentation.
Good evening, all. Whistler Pierre Lewis, Public Works Director. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to present the Employee of the Quarter to Mr. Carlos Figueroa. He is an administrative specialist for the Public Works Department. He has been with the city for 15 years. Don't let his looks fool you, but he has been here for 15 years. He actually started in the personnel department. Then he went to code and then parks. And finally, he's with the Public Works Department, where obviously he's been flourishing since he's been nominated and selected to win this award. And Carlos is a very personable person. He always delivers. He gets the job done. He is also an avid athlete and sports fan. I get to talk a lot of trash to him. Still waiting for him to dunk on me on the basketball court. So he says. So, I'd just like to point out one main item that will sum up what Carlos does for this department and for the city. So one of the questions in the nomination form is to provide examples of where the nominated employee has displayed outstanding service to the city and worked above and beyond the call of duty. So throughout his career with Public Works Department, without being asked, he has come in early or stayed late to finish a project or assignment ahead of schedule, or to help another employee. During times of emergency, Carlos has always taken on the responsibility of making sure that all paperwork was filled out correctly, and he also assisted in the distribution of safety equipment to employees. This is specifically during the Hurricane Irma situation. He was very critical to getting us back in order. As you know, thanks to the leadership of council and the manager, we were one of the first cities to get the debris collected and get the city back in order. Carlos also makes suggestions to try to improve the department morale or efficiencies. So for all that, I'm thankful to present the award to Carlos today, and I'll allow you to make a few words if you could.
Well, thank you for the plaque and the honor. I don't really talk much publicly like this, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I enjoy working in the department. Not only do I get to work with a great group of guys, also the public. I enjoy talking with the public, helping out the public, because a lot of times the public is a little confused on some things, and I'm just trying to be there to listen to them and help them out in any way possible. And for Whistler, thank you for the opportunity as well for working for Public Works. It's been a great 5 years, and hopefully I can continue to work in the department and for the city of North Miami. Thank you.
I think right now we're gonna have our special presentation is gonna be about Red Garden. But just before, let me and say thank you for coming to the city of North Miami, to my old friend Eddie Durandis. Eddie Durandis been Eddie, can you say hi? People can see you. Eddie Durandis been around the city of North Miami for over 30 years. I don't know if you remember Potemkin Dodge on behind Walgreens on 125th in the early 1980s to 1990. Eddie been working at Potemkin Dodge and Chrysler for some times before moving to different dealership. We opened our dealership in 2007, and now Eddie Durandis is the finance director for Allen Dixon Toyota. And thank you. And Eddie, and you have business in the city of North Miami for quite some time. Eddie Durandis was the owner of that restaurant. It was on by Greenwich Studio. He owned that restaurant in the past. That means he's been a long time resident, part business in the city of North Miami. And thank you for coming.
Are we doing,
Red Garden.
are we doing announcement, or we're going back to announcement? And
Well,
roll
it's,
call, did we do roll call?
No, we did roll call.
Oh, we did? I'm here.
Where's that? Can you record
Let the
this?
record reflect Councilman DeSulme is here.
Can I?
Yes, please let the record reflect that Councilman
Oh,
Desilme
come on, Madam
is
Clerk.
present.
We do an announcement after? You have any
Yeah,
announcement?
yeah,
Ms.
the presentation about,
She don't have no- look
now
at
it's
her
Red
sitting there.
Garden updates. And after
Wait,
that,
you
we'll do
done?
announcement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Arthur Sorey, Deputy City Manager. Tonight, we're gonna do, as I said last meeting, we're gonna do a presentation, an update on the Red Garden. And I'll start. So, and we're probably talking almost a year ago, we decided to take ownership or lease the property on the Denmark property on Northwest 7th Avenue. And for those who don't know, it was a property that's been abandoned for the last 25 years. And it was a real eyesore in the community. So as an agreement we reached with Mr. Denmark, we came to terms to lease the parcel from him and to do something to spur economic development and really clean up the eyesore on the site. So its actually address is 12351 Northwest 7th Avenue. The current plan, two-phase plan, was to get the site cleaned up and to establish a food incubator program, and also staging for temporary event space. The lease is about 14 and a half more years that we have for the lease of the space. And this was our original plan, what we came up with the vacant lot for parking in the back and kind of a sale system in the front for eating, food trucks surrounding, the area, restrooms, pop-up. And just to give you an idea what was the concept, was more of a wharf concept. Wharf, Windward Yard, some of these pop-up sites that you're seeing all around Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So we came to the CRA meeting. This is a CRA project, by the way. We did come to the CRA meeting and request $500,000 to start first phase planning and try to get the site cleaned up and get it ready for pop-up events, which included doing a pop-up event for the Super Bowl weekend. And really, and it's important that everybody understands this is not a event space that was set up for the Super Bowl.
Okay.
We did set this space up for the next 15 years. That's what we're working on, setting the space up for the next 15 years. It's a temporary event space for now. First phase is the pop-up, and we'll move into something a little more in the future to come. But right now, it's just a pop-up space. I have a few of the before photos. Like I said, the property was abandoned. It was a statue yard where they sold statues and pottery and greenery. Anybody from North Miami in the bidets knows this property. So all of this was there just behind the fence. You can see the fence tore down there, but it's been sitting like that for 25 years. So now we're here. This is the new design, the new logo for the Red Garden. This is the site. These are the pop-up tents that are in place right now. You can see the Red Garden logo down at the bottom of the screen. And really it's the space, and I'll say from the staff was, this is intended to be an event space, but we did for the Super Bowl weekend, we'll gain national attention, and we already have gained national attention for our site for the events that are going to take place. But we built the site out to capacity so everyone could see what the possibilities are for our event space. So now in going forward, everybody knows what can be there. It's not, we cleared off a little parcel of the land. We cleared the whole land and set it up as an event space for the Super Bowl weekend. So this is the current promotional layout, event layout. 4 tents. We have food trucks that'll be in. Let me add that we leveled the site, completely graded the site. Underground utilities are in place already. That was part of our build out. We did build out the underground utilities. We have electric and water in place for 6 food truck or incubator businesses. They're out. We do have a couple of crowd pleasers there. And the one thing that's not there, those little green circles in the middle, those will eventually be the palm trees and statues that'll be in the place. A lot of the statues that were on the site, people asking where the statues at. We do have the statues in an undisclosed location behind a fence. People ride by it every day. They don't know the statues are there. But the statues are going to be cleaned up. It will be a call to artists. I'm working with MoCA, and we will do art and have artists work on those statues, and they will become part of the Red Garden, which gives us even more publicity in the future when people do visit MoCA. Hey, you need to go visit our statue garden that we have over there that's, was powered by MoCA. So this is the current layout with the parking in the back. And I'm going to go build out expenditures, electrical, lot clearing, tents, landscape, and audio visual. Approximately right now to date, we spent approximately about $420,000 of the $500,000 for the event layout space, what we said we were going to do. Future event layout. The 4 tents that you saw, only one of the tents will be staying. That tent will have will be built out with audio visual. There will be a bar under the tent. The big tent leaves. A lot of people are concerned about parking. Where are people going to park? The residents are concerned. Where are people going to park? They're going to be parking. This one weekend will be our major weekend, like we say, full capacity for promotional, let people know what's possible on the site. However, we did take the residents in consideration. That's why the large tent will be moved. We will put a parking lot It will be a parking lot that'll be separated by planters for individuals to park on the actual site. So it'll be parking on the site and actual parking on 123rd and 124th Street. There are parking spaces all down the side. And then it'll still be the parking that's been identified in the back as well. So parking is not going to be an issue for the everyday use of the Red Garden. As we do move forward, we will have people. We've had several people already. I'm sure people have contacted elected officials and other people, but people have contacted us about using the space moving forward already. We have requests for people to use the space for spring break, to do some type of channels in Enchanted Forest there, Santa's Enchanted Forest. Actually, we did receive a call that the Orange Bowl Committee, the plan next year is the national championship. They're looking for spaces for next year moving forward, and they're going to be visiting our spaces during this weekend while we're doing festivities. So this is going to be the future event layout. On those major events when we do have them, and we'll be, you know, aware of how many that we actually do approve, and that's another discussion that'll come as we talk about the future use of the site. We'll make sure that we don't do too many that will affect, but when it is time, we can move the planners back and open up the space to the full capacity that we are doing right now. So in getting our national recognition, we did, like I said, promotional build out to show the space. Well, we also, so we have promotional, the event days. Thursday is gonna be the Taste of North Miami, a free event to the public. Will be several food vendors there, free to get in. There will be music, entertainment there. Friday, there's gonna be a Welcome to North Miami with a Caribbean flair. So we're actually gonna have Haitian chefs cooking there and giving away food. That event, I believe, is a $10 to get in event. Saturday, which is gonna be, and I know everybody's knows about, that's gonna be the biggest day. Saturday, we're gonna have a car show there during the day from 11 to 6 p.m. And then the Luke's World Party starts at 9 p.m. Those tickets range from $50 up to $500. And then Sunday is a big game watch party. So that's going to be strictly a watch party. People come out and watch the Super Bowl there. Free to get into the public. I believe the watch party is being hosted by CeeLo Green. So with that, we have 2 revenue sharing contracts with each with up to $100,000 for startup proceeds. Couple details in it. The city's share, it's a revenue split for all of the events. No, we did not just say somebody could use our space to make money. No, there's a revenue split. We have a contract signed 50-50 until all of our proceeds are fully recouped. Once our proceeds are recouped, then it goes to a 20-80 split thereafter. One major thing, each promoter, the 2 promoters that are working on it, are required to give a total of $18,000 toward the city's utility assistance fund. That's the end of the presentation. Again, that is our temporary build-out space. Like I said, we used the $500,000 to get going for the build-out. We will be coming back with the phase 2 to move it forward, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Since he's in District 4, let Councilman David May have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Excuse my voice. Mr. Sorry, I have a whole lots of questions. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, for recognizing this is in my district. Just historically, staff had briefly mentioned it. This project is not one of my initiative or have anything to do with the project. And I did tell staff that I'll be supportive as long as my colleague on the council were okay with the first initial phase. But I do have loads of questions because they were asking me, and I am just seeing this presentation tonight along with everyone else in the audience. So I do have a couple of questions. I guess I'll have to direct them to you, Mr. Deputy Manager, regarding this event. We had initially talked about this, and you made something, and I need you to correct it on the record. This is not a permanent space, and our city manager have always, and part of me coming on board with this project, and it was said publicly several times. This was supposed to be a temporary, and from my understanding, it still is, but I heard that it's, whatever, this would not be, my vision is the people who represent that district, who the people have duly elected to do that, that would not be an event space there. So that's number one. We did talk to CRA a couple years ago, and they did have the, something of doing a, oh God, I can't think of the name of the project, Music City, adjacent to 135th Street. And I have always said that would have been the best place for this. However, when I first heard about this, I did not know what this project would be. I did suggest the Joe Celestine Center, behind the Joe Celestine Center, the 9 acre that we have there, because that's just so much fitting for that type of event, because there is some residents there, but also you got businesses, and you have the cemetery and a park adjacent to it. The concern from then was, if we do it there, then folks on 95 would not see it. I don't like the concept of the wharf and all the others that I've seen. Up to date, I have some serious concern, because $400,000, I know we were all on board with the initial $500,000 that was given. But it's my understanding, and I'm learning today, there are some other things into this contract. Today, I'm looking at 2 different contracts, and Mr. Attorney, was these contracts brought to you, or was it the CRA attorney's office?
I don't know what contracts you're looking
These
at, sir.
are contracts of the promoters, so I just have some questions regarding the terms of these. Since it's a CRA project, but I know there was some, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So is this, was this seen by you, or was it referred to the CRA?
I reviewed these contracts, sir.
Okay, so with these, the first one, well, both of them, I don't know the exact amount. So they paying the whoever rent these spaces for this event, they paying us $100,000 up to $100,000 if they make that money, or is it advance, or are we paying out any money to them to promote these events? So let's start with that question, kind of backwards.
My understanding is that the city expended $100,000 on the event. The revenues from the event will be shared, as Mr. Story said during his presentation. It's a 50-50 profit share, so the money that comes in is 50-50 up until we receive the first $100,000. And after that, any proceeds thereafter is split 80-20, with
Thank
the city
you.
receiving
Thank you, sir.
20% and the promoter receiving.
So
80%.
in other words, we are paying for the promoters to host these events. Okay, the next question. So 420 has been spent, and based on the slide that I saw, it's been construction, because when this was presented to us late in December before we go on the break, I don't know if my other colleagues on this dais felt the same way. I thought the 500,000 would cover those cleanup, and certainly the statue was supposed to be part of the cleanup. At least that's the impression that I've gotten from staff. So somebody did not accurately, and I don't feel too good about that, gave me all the details. So if the 400,000 just went out for cleanup, so the other expenses on record, where is that money coming from? Because I think us here on the dashboard, especially for me, I can speak for me, I was under the impression 500 was it, that from the CRA was gonna go for the cleanup and to do part of the event. And I think all of us was kind of like under the impression the Super Bowl big event would be part of that amount. I think we were okay with that when I left in December. So now if the 420 was spent, and you know, that's a good business, somebody being $400,000 in a couple months to clean a site, but that's fine. So the other 100, Mr. Deputy, where is the other 100? Is it an additional CRA? Where is that coming from?
The other 100 with the contracts?
Whichever, because there's to put on the event.
From the general fund, sir.
Okay, so that's another problem. I don't know if anyone up here had authorized that, so I would need the manager or whoever to, from my understanding, unless I missed a council meeting or something, I don't think we approve because the manager authorization is over 25,000. So where did the additional money comes in to do that? Because I don't think that's, I'm not even gonna ask what's the amount, but I am very curious and it doesn't sit right with me with these events because us as steward of the public dollar, and I know up here my colleagues always talk about event this and event that, this is really, and I don't know if the budget director or the finance, this is really not sitting right with me as an elected official because as being the steward of the residents' dollar, I don't know where that money was from, and I don't think it was budgeted or we as a body voted for anything else other than the 500,000 to go over. So my question to you, Mr. Attorney, was isn't the manager budget amount legally to go over without council approval 25,000?
Sir, the manager's approval authority is 25,000. However, all of these contracts, if you look at the dates of the contract,
Sir, thank you.
Sir, you have to allow me
no,
to answer
I'm sorry.
the question. You asked me a question, you have to
Mr.
allow me to
Attorney,
answer the question.
Mr. Attorney, you already answered my question.
I did not answer your
Well,
question.
you did
sir.
to me. Thank you. Mr. Deputy, how much did we spend total that amount?
The number is right at around $200,000, sir.
Okay,
estimated.
and that's my problem. So I don't know, Mr. Attorney, how you gonna answer that question with the 25? Is it gonna be like somewhere in the law there's a loophole? So if we have $400,000 out of 500 that was spent, that we all know up here. $200,000 just spent on the general fund and just like that. And so that's where I was going, Mr. Attorney. I don't think there's an answer for that. So that was just asking you that question. So if you want to clear it up, Mr. Attorney, that's fine now. No, he was going to clear it up. So I want to hear the explanation. How did the 25, not being an attorney, that my understanding went over the 200? How is that legal?
Sir, before you all left on hiatus, you passed a resolution that allowed the city manager and the attorney to execute contracts while you're on hiatus. All of these contracts were executed during the hiatus period. My understanding in speaking to both the manager and the deputy manager and everyone connected with this, all the decisions were discussed with the council members because you were all on hiatus and we could not have a meeting, and especially because of the time requirements. Had we waited until the first meeting in January, none of this would have been done in time for the Super Bowl.
Thank you. And there go problem number 3. I didn't go nowhere for the holiday. I did not meet with no one. No one asked me. And are you sitting here telling me that the manager or the deputy, whoever, could take your authority without us being the elected body to spend $200 million and broke the city while we on break without permission? I thought that the 25,000 guideline was there for a safety hold, because if we don't know what's going on and then the public gonna be upset with us not knowing about these additional expenses, as we and the mayor and all the commissioners talked about the budget, how do we, this is my problem now. So because of the resolution that we passed during the holiday break, saying that the manager has the authority and the attorney and to do whatever. So you mean you guys could bankrupt the city and then come to us and it's like it's okay because we're on a hiatus? I mean, I would think if somebody's doing that, they would at least pick up the phone and call each of us if they don't want to, if we didn't have a quorum to meet, and at least say, this is what I'm doing. And I don't even think we could have done that, because as a body, we say 25,000 was the threshold, so of that amount. So I'm not really looking at these promoters' contract, because they have nothing to do with the fact that our administration went, I could say, behind my back. I don't know if anybody else up here knew, and spent additional money that was not authorized. So that's a problem moving forward. But additionally, there's just so much question, Mr. Mayor and the colleague, and I don't want to hold the meeting up for too long, but
No, you
this
can
does
keep
not
going.
this does not sit right, Mr. Mayor, because residents are calling me. Ms. Brown sent me an email, which I forwarded. Yes, ma'am, I forwarded directly to the deputy. The homeowners meeting wanted to get some answers. Nobody showed up, and residents thinking that I know. Well, not they know I don't know, but in reference to they assume I would have known because that would have been the proper thing as the district rep. However, these are very concerning to us. Like folks are just deciding to. There's a reason why we have a charter. There's a reason why we have certain things. And I would look at you, Mr. Attorney, as our attorney. If you see something that should not be right, or even if it's feel right, if the managers, because your office and the manager's office are totally different and should operate as such, because it should be a balance. Because if I can't rely on them to give me the accurate answers, because I'm going back to the presentation, is it my understanding that these tents, and when I find out, and I'm finding these things through the grapevine, and that's the other thing, that the tents alone are almost over $100,000. And we only own one of them, and it's only for 2 months. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate, sir.
And that is crazy. Because I don't know why or anyone would authorize, if we're not buying some tents for $100,000. So I'm just trying to help out the administration by airing out these things, because when they do come out, it would not look very pretty. But I just want folks to know I had nothing to do with it. I don't like it, and I'm still going to dig into trying to find out how did this happen. And we had this conversation, Mr. Attorney. Somebody should have called me, and if somebody said they talked to me, please do not go by that. Pick up the phone and call me and ask me, because at the end of the day, I am responsible to give answers just like all of us are to our constituent and the voters of North Miami and the residents. So it is upon us that these contracts or these things, and not necessarily the contracts, but this is very troubling and very puzzling that administration decided to do this without any authorization, from my understanding, certainly not from us collectively. And that's my concern. That's not good. And that's basically that. I think, Mr. Mayor, I would leave it there, but please let the record show this will not be a permanent safe as long as I'm in that district up until 2023. Then I think whatever happens after that, that's beyond me. But my understanding was it was temporarily. We were supposed to clean it up and did this and do the Super Bowl, and then we look forward on what's happening after that. And anything after the Super Bowl, I am really going to fight it hard with the residents. And I think it's a conversation that we need to have, because folks live around there. Their house is going to be affected. We got the cops. We don't even know. I guess that's part of the general fund money that's paying the cops. So there's a lot of issues that I have. So since it's already too late, we can't do nothing about this weekend in 2 days. So let's see what we could do after the Super Bowl. But I'm not happy, and I will do what I can after the Super Bowl to make sure that we do what's right by the residents, because people are affecting in this city in the hardest way or the smallest way we would not even imagine. Today I had a resident's water that was cut off for 6 months that was crying in my office, just with some regular issues. And just to do that with us not authorizing almost $200,000 to be going to something clearly, which I know Councilwoman Keys and all of us had talked about, put the events in the budget. I do one event a year, and that's with the Black History, and that's always been taking flack. And the sole purpose of me doing it is trying to help out the residents. There's no profit. Nobody's getting no money. Nobody's getting anything. And we trying to charge the people $10, and that was not even $100,000. We had a lot of pushback from the council regarding that event, and now we're spending almost $700,000 for almost one weekend. And half of it, almost 200, we didn't even know. And then for us to see that 18,000 is going to our fund, You know, that's just BS to me, but I'll just stay right there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Just ask a
This
couple
equ-
questions.
Yes.
Because I had written a letter a couple weeks ago regarding this, asking for the contract, which I just received, and costs. So I am looking for a breakdown from the CRA of what we spent and what we spent it on. Question is the tents. If they're not permanent, then I think they should go towards the cost of this event, and maybe they could be prorated because we are gonna have it for a certain amount of time, so we can be charging that to other events, but I'd still like to see that. Mr. Attorney, in December, we did take we did pass a resolution to give the manager, and city attorney and clerk all necessary action, to take all necessary action to execute any documents affecting the health, safety, and welfare of the city during the recess period. So, it's not health, it's not safety. Is this considered welfare? It is economic, is this what we're talking about, welfare?
It would be considered welfare. This is a, I mean, the whole purpose of this is a development project for that district. So,
Okay.
and again, you know, I know, well, I'm gonna leave it there.
Okay, so that's a broad definition of welfare. Speaking to Mr. Sori this afternoon, asking a couple questions about the tents, which are temporary, how long they're for, and I think if we're recouping our expenses and these tents are put up for this event, then whatever our costs are, they need to include the cost of the tents so we can recoup those as part of the contract. So we've got the 50-50, the 80-20. I would like to see those included because they would not be out there right now if it weren't for this event. So I want to make sure. And hopefully we get a lot of people, we cover our money, or don't spend a whole lot of money and get some good publicity, so,
Are you done?
yes.
Thank you very much, Councilman Galvin.
I just want to say I'm really excited about this project, and I obviously respect Councilman DeSulme, and you know, a lot of digging we can do to try to find ways to make this work more smoothly. But if this isn't the biggest Super Bowl party of the weekend, it's going to be close to it. I'm proud that it's going to be in North Miami. I think it's an exciting use of a space that has sat vacant for decades. You know, I have friends who tease me that says you can't spell North Miami without N-O, because we have a tendency to say no to a lot of things. But I'm hopeful that we can find a way to make this a yes going forward, because it sure as heck is a lot better than a vacant, rundown, overgrown lot full of cement.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Councilman.
Do we have any idea of how the ticket sales are doing now for?
I know for the Saturday event during the day, the ticket sales are crazy for the Saturday event during the day. We probably anticipate about 4,000 tickets being sold for the car show during the day. The evening event, we're expecting approximately about 3,000 people for Saturday evening. The other days aren't going to be a problem. And the other ones are the first one is the free event on Thursday. We're expecting approximately about, I think, close to 1,000 people showing up. Friday, probably about 2,500 people showing up. And then Sunday, right around 1,000 again.
Okay, what caused us to go over budget?
Well, the contract's in place. We haven't gone over budget. I think with the build out, we had some electrical stuff that came up. We weren't even actually planning on wiring electrical for the first phase. But as stuff got going, it didn't make sense for us to do it. We actually did, when we did the electrical stuff, then it came with the fire department then next. So we did have to work with the fire department and make sure that everything is safe and with the tents. But what I will say, in 5 weeks, you know, stuff moved really fast for us to get to this point in 5 weeks. And that's it. I mean, those were the electrical,
How much did that cost?
electrical was about $80,000.
Do you think that after this weekend, with all the anticipation, that we will have recuperated
I think we're gonna
our funding?
more than recuperate our money. For this weekend's event, we're gonna recuperate the money. But I think outside of that, I think it's gonna be, we're gonna make money in the long run. I didn't want to talk about, but the space right now for this weekend, Jack Daniels and Corbel Champagne are sponsors for this weekend. I know Jack Daniel was approaching us and saying, if you guys are going to be here and this is going to be a space off of 95, we're interested in doing something long-term sponsorship. So I think I know we're going to recoup our money that we've spent to the maximum potential. The sky's the limits with the Orange Bowl committee, you know, people coming to our event, you know, requesting 10 tickets to bring the event staff there to look for future and possibly for next year's national championship. You know, we did something that for a site that's been sitting there for 25 years, that we have people literally walking on the site offering us $1.5 million to stop working so they can take over the site. And we have to do this right now. So it's going to be plenty of opportunity for us to get our money back. I don't think that's going to even be close. I think we're gonna,
So do you believe that this weekend, once this weekend is done, we
we'll
will
recoup
get
our money.
at least
Yes, I
most
do
of our
believe-
money back?
Yes.
Okay.
No more question?
Yes, sir, I have a question. Despite what you heard, Councilwoman, I don't believe we will. But anyhow, I have a question. One of the contract, it stated, 2.7. So one of them, it says 10,000 and the other one say 8,000 that we contributed to the utility fund. So that was changed. What's the difference between that contract and the first one of Article 2.7?
Sir, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, my question is, one of the contracts stated, the written part says promoter will contribute $10,000 to the City of North Miami Utility Fund. The other one, it's handwritten 8,000, that was the agreed amount. I'm just saying, what's the change or why, the change? Yeah, I know it's two different contracts.
This one, slightly above that, this one was for 80,000. So to make the contracts equal, we did 10,000. We did the 10% on each one.
So it's
the one is
10%.
10,000, and then the other one's 8,000.
Okay, so it's 10% of the money that we spend.
Yes.
So we saying that if we spend 100,000, the promoter will give us 10,000 upfront, and then the 50-50 ticket sales will start after that.
Yes, sir.
And then after that, we'll do the 20. Just in closing, I don't really have issues with events. I just want us to be clear when budget time comes in, how we talk about city events and all this. Yeah, I'm excited. This is good, but we are one of the few cities who are spending a whole bunch of money for the Super Bowl. Not even the whole city is spending that much. Just to say that I'm fine with it, but don't complain. In the residents, when you guys are writing emails or other things, know how to write your or make your comments, because if we're concerned about one thing, we got to be consistent. If budget is an issue, we always talk about money when you do this. I asked the CIA to sponsor a business luncheon for community leaders and business, and they said they didn't have no money, which is fine. So I went, okay, I'll see if I could get some sponsors. We got residents, we got other things. That's fine. I'm all good in that, and I'm good for a good party. But let's just be consistent among us up here. don't talk about these events or the prices, or don't talk about, we have a budget crisis. So if we certainly not gonna look and we're gonna give administration a pass when it's convenient or when we like it, that's fine, let's do that. But if we're gonna call out these things, we need to be consistent in doing so. Personally, if that's the route that we're going, we do what we do. But at the same time, we need to be extremely careful on how we move forward with these things, and be transparent, especially to the elected official, because I don't know who got what, which elected official got what information, who knew what. I'm just saying I don't know anything, and I'm finding everything out tonight or today at least, or bits and pieces 2 weeks ago. So that's one thing, but please do your respectful rounds when you talk to the folks who at least respect the residents. And if any, like I said again, if anybody want to have the space of this thing, that's fine. But my number one goal is the quality of life of the residents over there. So beyond that, I do not care how much money this will bring. If the residents this is impacting their lives, then yes, I will be against it. And I do see some in the audience nodding their heads who live in District 4. That it's something that when you have this type of thing, you need to bring the city along or the residents that it will impact along with you. Don't just say you're gonna do this and certainly giving misinformation to the person who represent, or don't give information at all to the representative of the area, and then come like everything is fine. So it's not fine. I wish the best. I wish we do make more money for this, but after the Super Bowl, after this weekend, I don't care how much millions it costs, I will be walking the streets to make sure that the residents are not impacted. And if they are, we will have a say, and we'll make sure this event space is either moved wherever else we want to move it to, but that space was not supposed to be at a cost of the residents' back. Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Estimé, are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay. Yes.
I forgot to ask one question. I had asked previously, one of my main concerns, and I have spoken to Mr. Soy a couple times, so just to confirm that we have all our permits in place, the fire marshal has approved it, we have a head count of how many, what the capacity is, and someone will be watching to make sure we don't go over capacity. And also, do we have a count on the police, and that will be part of the cost?
We're still working with the police on getting the cost together to make sure everyone's safe. I will say that, yes, as I did mention, we did have some issues with the fire department. There will be a fire watch. There will be fire watch individuals there. There will be paramedics there, specifically on Saturday with the range of the number of people that we expected for Saturday. We had to get our own, there will be its own fire detail there.
But we have
We did get the
police.
permits. The permits are approved by the fire department. Actually, as of this morning, we got our last approval for the fire department.
We're
So-
gonna have adequate police for the crowd control?
We will have adequate police for the crowd
And
control.
we have insurance, and they have they are insuring us to
Everything,
get
the
promoters?
the whole weekend is insured. And there will be, just, since you're asking about safety, metal detectors will be at every entrance, of the Red Garden for people going through. They will have to go through metal detectors. So we've taken all precautions and worked with the police department in doing so.
So when you say metal detectors, that means no firearms or knives are allowed in there?
No firearms.
Y'all recognize Uncle Luke is older than me? Like, this is not gonna be.
No, you got a big, we have this here. I'm just wondering, because people have, carry permits.
Use the mic,
Right.
Councilwoman.
People
I
have
get
carry
it.
permits. I'm just questioning.
No, it's everybody who comes in the event. There's even the secondary entrance that is for whatever entertainers or VIPs that show up. There's a metal detector at that entrance as well.
Okay. It's a big weekend.
No, I get it, but
It's a big weekend all over.
the inference that we're gonna have gangbangers running around
No,
with
it's not
weapons
gang-
on them is a
no,
little over the top.
No,
Thank-
It's Uncle Luke.
No,
Thank you.
this is Super Bowl weekend, and there's a lot of stuff going
Thank you,
on in our
thank you very
country,
much,
the world.
everyone, and just to add to some of the comments. First of all, I was under the impression that we are spending 500,000 total for the event. I didn't know about that extra money. I thought that was a part of it. But since the event that we are doing on Friday and Saturday, and based on the plan, it seems like we're gonna recoup our money back. It's not like free money, it's like an advance money, and there is a chance that we get that money back. Before my comments, I'll wait until after the Super Bowl and to see how it goes. And another thing, as far as for the tents, the administration stated clearly and at the last meeting that the tents were gonna cost between 80 to 100,000. That's when they say that on record before the approval of the 500,000 for that. And that being said, let's hope that we have a good Super Bowl weekend, and hope that we can recoup our money back. And I want to let everyone know also that on Saturday and at the North Miami Stadium, we are going to have an official event with the Super Bowl committee. It will be a family fun day where you're going to have superstars, players, a lot of celebrities. They're going to be on site on Saturday. It will be in your district.
Will there be metal detectors?
I don't think so, sir.
Okay, but that's the thing. We didn't ask for metal
That's when
detectors
people
in
are
District
worried
1.
about.
No, I am very uncomfortable with the focus on metal
Wait.
detectors for District 4, not on District 1.
If I may,
That's
Mayor,
We don't need to have them.
I just attended a fantastic active shooter event here, and it's not when, it's where, right? Chief?
Okay, but understand that
We need 'em.
it's a lot of events,
Gonna
and
have
we
them
are
in our
so
high
glad
schools,
that
middle schools.
the Super Bowl committee choose North Miami Stadium towards the family fun day. That's a good recognition, and I have to thank the PAL, the Police Athletic League. As a matter of fact, PAL and is a part of a documentary that they put together, the Super Bowl committee, and it's gonna air on ESPN about the city of North Miami. That's mean it's Super Bowl weekend, and North Miami is on the map of the Super Bowl. Not only that, for Saturday, the family, they have other places with more safety that they could go, with more amenities they could go for the family fun day. That's when a lot of celebrities are going to be in the city of North Miami Saturday. But on top of that, then the mayor was invited to a, how do you call that, where you're gonna have all those Hall of Famers, and Don Shula, coach, is going to be there, and a lot of celebrities. As a matter of fact, it's only the mayor has been invited. He's gonna be at Wyan Henry and Jaguar Infinity, and it's gonna be on Wednesday night. It's gonna be from 6 to 10 p.m. and you're gonna have about 50 celebrities. When they invited me, they said it's gonna be the total of people who's going to be there. The value is over $500 million in the city of North Miami. That's mean by Wyan and with Jaguar. That's mean it's big stuff. That's mean we hope that we can recoup our money. We do need money, and I'm mad that the administration did not discuss the plan with Vice Mayor Alex Desulme. He's in his district. Like me, I want to accept that. When it was when I was in charge of District 3, I hope that next time that doesn't happen anymore, and he's aware of everything. But another problem that we talked about it, and we signed a contract for $8,000 a month to lend that place. How come do we lease the place for over $8,000 a month, when we didn't know in advance what we were gonna do there. That's mean we all five, we voted for it. We shouldn't do that without having a plan for the location. That's another problem that we have. That's mean we try to make something happen on the side, because whether you use it or not, you're spending $9,000 every month for the place. That means it's not a free place to the city. That's mean we got to do something, and I hope after the Super Bowl, we sit down with Vice Mayor Desulme.
No, they won't be sitting with me, Mr. Mayor, but we
I said
could-
after the
No, I
Super
know,
Bowl.
but I know.
What are you talking
No,
about?
no, I know, but I'm just really
I
upset.
hope after the
tonight.
Super Bowl, you sit down with
No,
Vice Mayor
no,
Desulme
I don't need them
and
to
come
sit
up
with
with
me.
a plan for
We'll be
with
all
a
right.
project for the location, because we are paying. It's either we cancel the contract.
Because, Mr. Mayor, all of that, we did not, when I voted here, and that's part of my frustration, I did not vote that it was gonna allow to do that. We first voted because it was a place that's been there, been abandoned for a long time, and it was supposed to be part of the initiative that we had with the Chinatown idea. So this event place, like I said, it's been 3 years since the CRA talked about a music city, and we talked about the concept of it north of that. So when administration brought it up to me, and to talk about that place, I suggested that they use the Joe Celestine, because it's our place. We don't rent it. I said,
You're talking about the MC lot in the back.
yeah, exactly. And I said we
okay,
could come
okay.
up with something concrete. They didn't even give me. It was from a couple of minutes. We passed the leasing of it, and then the idea started coming down, and we're like, okay. Like I said, I'm not complaining about us renting it and cleaning it up. That I'm fine. Like I said, I own it, and residents been asking me about the $500,000. I voted for it. I'm concerned about the other things and the plans, because administration will say one
You're
thing and
talking
then
about the 200,000 extra.
beyond. Yes, the
Okay,
200,000 extra beyond, and then all of a sudden in October we'll be like, oh well, you know what? Event is this. It'll be, you know, the residents. They'll be, oh, event, too much events in North Miami. This and this and that. You got to cut this. You got to do this and this and that. So that's my just concern, and that's just my say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I think the public will be able to speak on the item when we open public forum. Since it's a discussion item, we're not gonna make any decision on it. That's mean we're not gonna hear from the public at this time. And now special events. During citizen forum, you will be able to speak about it. Thank you.
Oh my God. These are who you try to play games.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, North Miami neighbors, and guests. My name is Unicia Baker. I'm the Senior Public Information Officer, and it's my pleasure to share some of our city's upcoming events, programs, and initiatives with all of you. The City of North Miami is now accepting Golden Passport applications for qualified seniors and Social Security beneficiaries to ride the Metro Rail and Metro Bus at no cost year-round. To sign up, visit the City of North Miami's Customer Service Center on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. Need help filing your taxes? The AARP Foundation provides free tax return preparations for low and moderate income taxpayers and seniors at the North Miami Public Library every Thursday, beginning February 6th from 10:30 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. Assistance will be available until April 9th. The National Football League will host the 2020 Play Football Family Festival on February 1st from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. at the North Miami Athletic Stadium. The address there is 255 Northeast 151st Street in North Miami. Held the day before the Super Bowl, more than 2,000 student athletes are expected to attend the festival and develop football and life skills through play football events. The festival is open to football fans of all ages and is free of charge. Also on Saturday, February 1st, as part of this year's Black History Month celebration, MOCA invites children ages 6 through 12 to Mini Makers to discover the work of artist Lovely Lewis Molly Lou Jones while learning to create an expressive and colorful mixed media art piece inspired by the art of the African diaspora. Space is limited. Please RSVP at mocanomi.org. Sunday, February 2nd at 11:30 a.m., Also, as part of this year's Black History Month celebration, MOCA invites children ages 1 to 5 to Sunday Stories featuring the book I Am Enough, a New York bestseller by actress Grace Byers. Then experiment with all colors of the rainbow with tempera paint. Space is limited. Please RSVP at mocanomi.org. We're just days away from the official start of the 2020 Black History Month celebration, and until February 7th, the North Miami Public Library will accept entries for this year's Black History Month essay contest. The topic focuses on innovation of African American inventors. Winners will receive cash prizes during the awards ceremony on February 26th at the library. Log on to www.northmiamifl.gov/library for applications and contest rules. Saturday, February 15th from 2 to 5 p.m., the North Miami Public Library and the Miami Oratorial Society celebrate Black History Month with Spirit 2. This free concert, which includes gospel, spiritual, and classical choir music, is directed by Andrew Anderson. It will feature the Tim Watson Jazz Band. The month of February will conclude with the return of NOMI Fest. The 5th annual NOMI Fest will take place at Cagney Park Saturday, February 29th. This year's headliner is CeeLo Green. The concert will also feature performances by Adina Howard, Sunshine Anderson, and Tanir. Early bird tickets are now on sale for just $10 at www.nomifest.com. Proceeds from ticket sales will support the City of North Miami's Water Utility Bill Assistance Program, benefiting residents facing financial distress. Stay up to date with the latest happenings in our city of North Miami by visiting www.northmiamifl.gov. Then click Connect with NOMI, the Connect with NOMI icon on the homepage where you can sign up to receive our monthly NOMI newsletter. Residents may also like the City of North Miami on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This concludes this evening's announcements.
Thank you very much, Ms. Inicia Baker. And now, Madam Clerk, can I hear a motion on the consent agenda, please?
Do we,
For
a tab, if I have a question about a tab, do we say it now or after?
No, if you have any, you want to remove anything?
Yes, I want to remove, at least for tab E.
We did that.
Oh, we did? Oh.
We removed all, we did that already.
After all my stuff, I'm so lost.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we are now.
Right? We did all those.
Did we? Okay.
tabs, yeah.
Thank you.
Is it removed for discussion or just removed?
That will,
No,
where's
tab
my-
E is removed completely.
Where's my original? I have an original one where,
With the markup?
yeah, with
Oh,
my
here.
marker.
Well, you took mine. Let me get this.
Councilman DeSome, tab E has been moved completely from the agenda, sir.
Yes.
Vice
Okay.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
Need a motion for consent?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Unless a member of the City Council wishes to remove a specific item from this portion of the agenda, tabs A through D and F through I constitute the consent agenda. These resolutions and items are self-explanatory and are not expected to require additional review or discussion. These items will be recorded as individually numbered resolutions, adopted unanimously by the following motion: that the consent agenda comprised of tabs A through D and F through I be adopted.
Hold on, tab
Hold on.
F, we were removing for discussion. Tab F, G, and H are removed for discussion.
Yeah.
We're gonna present those.
So I'll make, my motion is to approve under consent tabs A, B, C, D, and I.
Yes. I is not the one that you asked that. It was E. Okay, thank you very much. All in favor of,
I have
Aye.
a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the consent agenda, tabs A, B, C, D, and I. The motion was seconded by
Mayor
Councilwoman
Estimate.
is,
Vice Mayor Desilme.
no, Marie
No.
Estimate
Marie
Irvin.
Estimate, okay.
Yes.
Councilwoman Estimate Irvin, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab F, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the
Tab
city,
E? Oh, okay.
City of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the expenditure of $80,000 in general funds to be used toward the rehabilitation of the property located at 12555 Northwest 13th Avenue for purposes of providing emergency assistance for one single-family rehabilitation project with life safety code issues, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. Tab F.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Albert Bazil, Housing and Social Service Director. To the Deputy City Manager, I'm here this evening, to ask you to approve this grant assistance to the property owners of 12555 Northwest 13th Avenue. Back in July 16, 2019, Housing and Social Services responded to the fire at this property. Staff went and do an assessment, and they came back with, after the walkthrough, we came back with an assessment about 127,800. Administration made the decision to go back and reassess the property, touching really the necessary stuff that need to be done in order to allow those people to go back to their property, because they are currently homeless and are sleeping at other people's house. We went back in July, November 7. They came, fill out the application, they were certified as low income, and they are eligible to receive help from the city. And last week, in January 15, a second walkthrough was performed, and this one came back with 106,900, approximately. And based on administration recommendation, we were not allowed to put that much money on one property, and they authorized us to come to you and ask for approval up to 80,000 to assist the homeowner. So this grant, as stated in our council report, it's a standard language, but it's gonna comply to whatever the HUD housing guideline provided. It's gonna be a rehabilitation loan agreement with the homeowner. We recommended that this property remain on the affordability period for 10 years, and they will follow everything that the HUD program recommended, though the funding is not coming from HUD, it's coming from the general funds. So here we are tonight to ask you to approve this item in order to assist those people to get back on their feet and go back to their house.
Thank you very much. A quick question.
Let me add, Mr. Mayor, and Albert did mention it briefly. There will be a lien placed on the property in the amount of $80,000. They have it's a 10-year lien, and the lien will decrease over the course of the 10 years until they've met their obligation of living in the property for 10 years. So they cannot get us fixed, we fix the house and resell the house. It will be a lien. We will be the first person on the lien of the property for 10 years.
If I understand that they own the property free and clear, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, since they did not have insurance when the incident happened, it's going to be required to add insurance every year on it?
Until the 10 period affordability period, until for the 10 years.
Okay, before we spend that money, can we make sure that they...
It's going to be
or at the
specified
end
in the agreement.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any question on the dais? We're going to open it to the public or after anybody wish to ask question.
Those are my questions, that you're gonna have a note mortgage, and it gets forgiven 1/10 each year?
Yes.
And if they sell it,
They need to pay us back.
they need to pay the prorated amount back.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we have somebody watching all of our loans and housing for the insurance?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
And those residents been living in the city for about 25 years?
Yes, sir. It's clearly stated here, they've been living in their house since 1993.
Thank you.
Where does the funding come from? Which fund?
It can be both general funds or CRA, because CRA, there is an
From the
allocation.
housing fund?
But it's already, we already have money in the housing fund.
Yeah,
Correct,
yeah.
correct, correct.
Which is in the general fund, but it's not just.
No, we're not
Both.
gonna get brand new funds from the general funds. It's already allocated.
Okay, thank you. I just want the people to be.
Now let's.
Thank
you
you.
wanna-
Yeah, just real quick. Tell me more about the insurance, the property owner's insurance if the home burns down.
Again,
Again?
No,
Basically, what the insurance is, we will require moving forward, they'll have to obtain homeowners insurance prior to us starting the work, and then through our contract compliance, we will follow up every year to make sure they do renew their insurance. If they fail to renew their insurance, then they're in default of our loan that we gave them.
So if there's a fire, if there's a storm, if there's some other tragic accident at the same
Next time.
property, their homeowner's insurance policy.
Their
will
homeowner's
pay.
they will
insurance
kick
policy
off,
will cover.
yes.
Their homeowner's insurance will include us as the first pay as the insured.
Yeah.
Well, the way we ask right now, I'm speaking in my capacity as the contract compliance manager, is we require to add the city as an additional insured.
Right, okay.
So I don't know if Ian, legal.
That's fine, okay. Thank you. And you wanna hear from the public before? Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open on the item.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street, Sunkist Grove. I am of the opinion that if there is going to be housing assistance given to the residents of North Miami, it should not be customized for individual cases. It would be best to have a set program with set qualifications, with set rules which would apply to any and everyone who meets the qualifications. So therefore, I'm against this customized assistance to this address, in that it should be, if funds are available and if housing assistance is going to be given, it should be able to be available to any resident who qualifies for it, and that this assistance, if given, should be made available to any other resident who in the future may meet the qualification and get help. So I'm against customizing this assistance to this particular family, that it should be a fund made available to any resident who qualifies in the city of North Miami. Thank you.
Public hearing still open on the item.
Veronica Guzman, 540 Northwest 127th Street. My only issue with this is that where the city is not added as an additional insured, but as the first insured, as the first mortgagee. Because something can happen and then they can receive that money, and if something is left over, then pay back the city. And that's the only thing I'm not comfortable with.
Thank you very much. Can you please take that in consideration and see?
Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace. My question is, can this be the CRA money? Can they not help this family? Isn't that what the money is for? I mean, we are spending all this money on entertainment, Greg Gardens, Uncle Luke, and we have people like my council person has said over and over, we have people that are really suffering in the city. You know, so the city is still, we're running a deficit, and we all are falling on hard times, and I know the family needs to get back into their home. But that's my question is, the funding.
I think from the last budget, we $3.1 million was allocated for housing, and $2.5 million was from the CRA. And in the sale of Solemia, we just secured another $2 million to address affordable housing in the city. Thank you. Yes, sir. Public hearing
Good
still
evening,
open.
Mayor and City Council members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. The only question I have is on one of the conditions that you just put on it, that they must have insurance prior to the work. Yes, the city deputy manager said that there must be insurance placed on the property prior to the city issuing the money and so forth. I don't know where in the state of Florida you are going to buy property insurance for a burnt-out house. You can hardly get insurance at a reasonable cost for a regular house. I just renewed my insurance and had to go through all the inspections, so you just might want to have a backup plan on how to protect the city's interests, very similar to what Scott had said about, and the young lady said about, the city should be in the first position with their lien in case something does happen to the structure that we're additionally insured. But again, it's been my experience as a broker that it is very difficult to get any type of insurance with a house in that particular condition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From what I understand, we cannot have property insurance on the property, but during the time of construction, you still can have liability insurance to protect the interest, not the homeowner's insurance.
We're not talking about the house
it's going to be liability insurance. Thank you very much. Public hearing is still open on the item. Public hearing is now closed.
Yeah, I would just reinforce, and lady is correct, that we should be shown as the mortgagee, and that way, if there was any kind of proceeds, it comes to us first, or it comes to both of us. They can't just get a check; it will come to us. And I think the insurance right now, $80,000 should be covered by the price of the land if something happened. But as they do construction, there is insurance for during the construction and then afterwards. So hopefully within a few months, the house will be rehabbed and the insurance will take effect. And I know that you will be checking that. Yes. Thank you.
Do we have, is the resident here? Not here?
No.
Okay, thank you. Do we, Councilwoman Estimate?
I'm fine.
Is
Vice
public hearing
Mayor?
closed?
Yeah,
Mr.
we
Mayor?
close public hearing.
Yeah, I just want to thank the housing. When crisis happen, we all say things until it's us. There's a lot of residents that I know that who does not have insurance. These are, a lot of them are elderly, and some of them, I think once they've been in the city for a while, they pay off their houses, and that was something I was very surprised at. Talking to them, they simply cannot afford it, or some other way. So there's more out there. We just need to pray and kind of find a way that this, encourage more of them, because I know some of them came forward to, request assistance from us, either painting or something, painting of the house or something, and we could not service them because they did not have insurance. So I do want to thank staff for working on this particular item, and I totally in support of it, because I as requested by staff. Thank you.
And another thing, when those fires happen on commercial, we give them CRA money, like we give Alaska
Coffee house.
a lot of money, and that shoe place right in the corner, we give them a lot of money. I don't see why residents are opposed, are happy that we give commercial, and they don't want us to help the residents that been living in the city for over 25 years. That's something that I don't understand. Thank you very much, and now can I hear a motion on
So
the
moved.
item?
Second.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Desilme to approve the item at tab F. I have a second by Councilman Galvin and Councilwoman Estimate Irvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab G, proposed resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, approving Miami-Dade County to release the declaration of restrictions recorded in the public records of Miami-Dade County at or Book 24479, pages 557 to 566, and approving to release the modification of the declaration of restrictions recorded in the public records of Miami-Dade County at or Book 26570, pages 1514 to 1,538 to provide for a private school located at 13300 Memorial Highway, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Tab G.
Yes.
Thank you. For the record, Tanya Wilson with Community Planning and Development. This resolution is regarding the property located at 13300 Memorial Highway. That was formerly the site for Aspire Charter School. The site is approximately 2.34 acres in size. It's zoned public use and has a land use of community facility. The request is basically seeking permission for the applicant to file a release of the restrictive covenant that's held at Miami-Dade County. The board may recall that back in 2014, this area was part of a general annexation of a 35-acre area. This was a subset of that area. One of the clauses in the annexation agreement says that if there is any zoning affiliated activities on that site, then the applicant would have to go back to Miami-Dade County to request release of any covenants or revision of any special exception. This is why this request is before you. They're seeking permission to be able to request that release because it's under new ownership right now. The applicant is actually here. Yes Properties is a private educational school from K through 8th grade. So they're requesting a revision of that restrictive covenant that's held at Miami-Dade County. The applicant is here and wishes to speak on that, the item at this time.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Mickey Morero from the law firm of Burke Howard L. Fernandez here on behalf of Yes Properties with Rabbis Winkler and Rabbi Schwag of the ownership group and my colleague Emily Balter. As Tanya explained, essentially what we have is a school that's being replaced by another school. The approval under Miami-Dade County was for a charter school for 750 students, and my clients, when that school was no longer going to be proceeding with their use, my clients inquired about taking over the property and maintaining the use under the same conditions of 750 students. The change is that it won't be a charter school by definition, it'll be a private religious Hebrew institution. That we agreed with that before they purchased the property, when they were under contract in the due diligence period, we met with your staff to confirm what we believed and what we advised the client, that as long as it remained under those guidelines, a school was a grandfathered use. We made sure that they did not let the legal nonconformity lapse through your code. And what this essentially is I would say it's a bit of a cleanup just to modify the resolution so it reflects what the school actually is and also is under the jurisdiction of your code. There was something that I found a bit odd that when you all annexed the county, annexed this area from the county, they retained jurisdiction on zoning covenants. And that's a little odd because I would think that as a city, you would like control over property within your jurisdiction. So what this will do is, essentially, it's a little bit complex how we got here, but it would transfer jurisdiction of this covenant and of this property from the county's jurisdiction to your jurisdiction. And with that, we've met with Tanya and her staff and have agreed to additional conditions operationally that will make the site less, that will minimize any potential impacts as far as traffic and overflow into the street. We've met with staff, we've agreed to those conditions, and what wasn't there before under county jurisdiction and will now be under your jurisdiction is the control through a site plan process, through conditions that you as a city would impose. And we've met with staff, agree with those conditions, and we would ask for your support on really both items G and H, which is the release of the covenant, which ultimately has to go to the county, but the county wanted your input, of course, before they released the document. And then the modification to allow the different ownership of the school, again, remaining with 750 students, probably operating a little bit better through staff's conditions. And we're here to answer questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. And Councilwoman Marie-Estime Youvin is in your district. Do you have any
Yes, I do.
comments? And
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm hearing you saying over and over that you're seeking for 750 students.
Right, that's what's currently, under the current declaration of restriction, it's a maximum of 750 students. We do not want to modify that. That's
Madam Mrs. Wilson, could you clarify that? Because I'm reading it 600. So is it 700 or? 750 or
Yeah,
600?
The resolution states 600.
Okay. I just want to make sure that that's a clear understanding. It's 600.
The restriction.
That's
is
when they wanna
600.
put 600, then they can go up to 750. Is that what it is? No, it's 600. It got to be 600, right?
Correct.
We'll accept 600. I mean, the client's okay with it. But, okay, all right.
So 600 is the number, correct?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that as well. Also, Ms. Wilson, I'm sorry, could you tell me, so what are some of the restrictions that we're trying to change? So well, one of them I know it's instead of a 6 to 8, from K to 8, correct? So that's
correct.
one of the restrictions. What are the
Correct.
other restrictions?
So, as you mentioned, it's a K through 8. There's also the staggering of the time.
Okay.
So the times are going to be different for an arrival for the kindergarten grades at 7, and then a staggered arrival for the middle school grades at 8:30. The
Okay.
pickup times have also been staggered. I think one of the important things too, in terms of Memorial Highway, in the past, Aspire would have that backlog of traffic.
Yes.
This one, the new applicant has now agreed to bring and internalize that traffic, so at least the drop-off and pickup would be happening on the school site and not along the right-of-way as we saw it in the past. There's also going to be a requirement for site plan review. So once that release has occurred on the Miami-Dade side, then we'll be able to bring it back over on the city side where we'll do a review of the renovations, the improvements in the landscaping, anything that's proposed, as I mentioned before, with the drop-off and pickup. That would be the final stage at the city level that will have final site plan approval, administrative site plan
Okay,
approval.
so there are, just to be clear, there are 13 declarations of restriction. So we talked about the changing from K to 8.
Correct.
We talked about the time, the staggered time traffic. What other changes are we asking for
And then an
outside?
agreement that they'll have site plan review by the city of North Miami. So that wouldn't have occurred before under the Aspire.
So that
review.
would be, so out of the 13, which bullet point is that one?
So that's a condition of approval for the item tonight. It's in the actual staff report.
So meaning that every other restriction outside of the ones that you've mentioned will remain the same?
It carries over,
So there's I think I read that there needs to be lighting for the school to announce the signal for the speed limit, I should say. Did I read that? So that restriction will stay
And that
as
was
is.
an obligation through Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
That Miami-Dade should have installed that.
So basically, so which one are we doing now in G? Which restriction are we
So the first one
lifting?
is just to release the restrictive covenant itself.
To
and then
release
it's-
all 13?
No, to release the restrictive covenant, because right now it's written for Aspira charter school.
Okay.
So we're giving them permission to enter into an application with Miami-Dade to have those revisions.
Okay.
And then the
that's
companion
what-
item right after.
So let's do
Yeah,
with G
it's
first.
related to it.
Okay. I thought those are all of my questions.
Thank you very much. Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open on tab G. Public hearing is now closed. Can I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab G. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estimate Irvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you very much. Tab H is it's about the same. Is there any, is the same thing,
Right.
right? It's a-
It's a companion item. So the next one is the literal special exception revision that will take place.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very
Oh, the
much.
setback, I'm so sorry. I had questions about, was there a special, can you tell me, is there any setback request?
No, they
On
won't be
here?
touching,
Okay,
they're not
I just wanted to make
demolishing the
sure.
building, so the
Okay.
footprint won't move at all.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tab H is open to the public. Tab H is now closed.
So moved.
Moved. Second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Estime Irvin to approve the item at tab H. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much, and our clients very much look forward to opening the school in your city. Thank you so much.
Thank you and welcome.
Tab M. Proposed resolution of the mayor and
Excuse me, okay, tab I has been. Okay. Tab I, it's in the consent, right?
Yes.
It's an important item. We should explain that. Where's Councilman Desunle? It's important to show that the city is participating in that program. Okay, we will doing council report. We'll discuss that again. What tab, Madam Clerk?
M.
Thank you.
Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the city administration's competitive selection of Carlos Rivero Plumbing and Septic Tank Contractor, Inc. as the lowest responsible contractor to furnish labor, equipment, materials, and expertise required to provide stormwater and sanitary sewer maintenance services. Further authorizing the city manager and city attorney to negotiate and execute an agreement with the selected contractor for the provision of services in an amount not to exceed $150,000 annually. In accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in Invitation for Bids IFB number 05-19-20, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes, tab M.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. For the record, Alberto Estrade, Purchasing Director. The item that you have before you under tab M represents the results of solicitation number 05-19-20, which was issued by the Purchasing Department to request bids from qualified and experienced contractors to provide the city with stormwater drainage and sanitary sewer structure maintenance on an as-needed basis. As reflected in the council report, which was submitted in support of this item, the city issued this solicitation on October the 4th and received in response 6 proposals in response to this bid. A bid tabulation which reflects the results of the bid proposals and the prices that were submitted by each one of these firms is included on the first page of your report. Based on staff's review and evaluation of the submitted bids and the experience and qualifications of each one of the firms, the firm of Carlos Rivero Plumbing and Septic Tank Contractors Incorporated was deemed to be the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. This bid award is for an initial 3-year term with 2 additional 1-year options to renew, and it's for a not-to-exceed amount of $150,000 annually. This work will be carried out on an as-needed basis and will be issued by work orders or task orders that will be issued by the city's Public Works Department. Here with me in support of this item is the city's Public Works Director, Mr. Whistler Pierre Lewis. In the event that you have any questions regarding the work that is to be performed under this contract. This concludes my presentation of this item, and if you have any questions, we'll be glad to take them.
Thank you very much. Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open on tab M. Public hearing is now closed.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions?
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab M. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Councilman Vice Mayor Desilme, how do you vote on tab G?
Yes.
And how do you vote on tab H?
Yes.
Thank you. Tab N, Proposed Ordinance, second reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Finance at Article 3, Division 3, entitled Source Selection and Contract Formation, specifically at Section 7-151 entitled Local Business Preference and Local Hiring Requirements in City Contracts, to update the standards for the award of local business preference, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab N.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As you recall, this item was brought to you last meeting. This is an ordinance. This is the second reading. We've changed the local preference ordinance. There was well, the changes are right now any business located in the city that would benefit from this local preference would have to have its certificate of use at least 12 months prior to the city's issuance of the solicitation. They have to have a physical address located within the city's limit in an area zoned for the conduct of such business. And they have to certify it in writing and provide all required documents supporting its compliance with the foregoing at the time of submitting its bid or proposals. And at the last meeting, we were asked to add a fourth requirement, which is actually an alternative to the first three, which is a business who subcontracts at least 20% of the contractual amount of a city project with subcontractors who meet the above listed criteria is deemed a local business for award of preference in accordance with this section. Those are the changes, and we ask for your support in this change of ordinance.
Public hearing is open on the item. Tab N, public hearing is now closed. Can I hear a motion on the item, please? On tab N?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab N. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estime Irvin. Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Desame, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Estime Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab P, Proposed Ordinance, first reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Miami entitled Administration, Article 3 entitled Boards, Committees, Commissions, specifically at Division 1 in general, to require that all city advisory boards and committees be reviewed every year to determine if there is a need or desire to retain them. Sunset review, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab P.
Through the mayor, Larry Springs, city manager. The item before you today is an item that we've been working with in collaboration with the elected clerk's office. These changes are intended to promote more efficiency and compliance in our oversight of the board and committee process. And I'll kind of briefly go through the summarized changes. First, we would be calling for an annual or a periodic review of the board that would come on a rotating basis. In the year that a particular board is being reviewed, and they will be required to submit a report to the city manager's office outlining the board's accomplishments for the review period, affirming the board is continuing to serve in its ordained purpose, issues related to membership and attendance status, cost to operate, and any possible modifications that may be needed to ensure that the board continues to operate in accordance with its purpose. By the 15th of that same year, the city manager will review all reports and then submit to the city council recommendations on whether a board is functioning as created and whether the board and committee should continue as is, be modified, or sunset. During during both of the April council meetings, the board or committee chair would then present a oral presentation to the city commission, at which time the council will evaluate the report, review the city manager's recommendations, and take any necessary actions. And again, the board and committee will be reviewed on a rotating schedule to avoid situations where all boards and committees are being reviewed at the same time. And also as a prohibition, any quasi-judicial boards or boards created pursuant to state, federal, or federal law shall be exempt from this process. As an elaboration on the rotating review, you may want to review the boards and committees on a 2-year or 3-year basis and specifically identify the years in which those boards and committees would be reviewed. So, for instance, 1 year you would only review 3 boards, the next year you would do another 3, so on and so forth. So with that, I would ask for your recommendation for approval.
Thank you very much. Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open. On tab B.
Good evening. William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm in support of this measure, but I was wondering if at this time the council could make an effort to sort of standardize our boards and our committees. I guess for a number of years we've had committees with a certain number. Maybe it's been 7, and 2 were appointed by one council member, and 1 and 2 and another. And it's really rather confusing and unnecessarily confusing. Could we at this time, we also have found that sometimes we do not have people showing up to attend these meetings, and therefore we do not achieve a quorum. And therefore you get staff showing up and other people showing up and possibly 3 members from that board, people applying, and therefore it's all for naught and has to go get rescheduled, possibly because there weren't enough people to begin with. We want to have the involvement of the community. I would like to ask the council to consider having each seat designate 2 people for every board, and also at the same time lower the quorum. It's so much easier to sort of manage rather than you have 2 and you have 1 and the rest. But if each of you had 2, wouldn't that be easier to consider this and to make the appointments? And if we also dropped the quorum to possibly 3, or under certain circumstances to be able to facilitate, when everybody has shown up, to be able to facilitate something which may be unanimous, let's say, of 3 people, maybe that could proceed. So just a couple points of consideration to help involve more people and help to expedite the process overall. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Sarah McDevitt, 14490 Northeast 10th Avenue. I think that this, having served on a couple of boards in the city, I see issues oftentimes with attendance and commitment, but I also feel like it's really important to have these boards, and the threat of eliminating some boards due to lack of commitment by certain members who are appointed to the boards just is a bit concerning. I hope that that's not the intent, because in some cases it's one of the few points of contact that that community members have to really interact with staff in a formalized way. And I just think that you know, I would encourage council people to make sure that we have full boards, that all appointments are met, and that the people who are being appointed actually want to serve and do consistently show up. And that's the thing that I think is really hard, since maybe from board to board there's not standard procedures for making sure that people come. You know, we have issues. So if there could be some sort of standardized way, like Bill was saying, that, you know, we approach how we appoint and how we decide whether or not the people can continue to serve, would be great. Thank you.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street in Sunkist Grove. I'm of the opinion that the boards should not be supervised by the manager, and would rather see the clerk's office to facilitate that role, because the application process, etc., to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, does come through the clerk's office. And through that process, I think that the clerk's office develops a rapport with those people who state they have an interest in being on these boards or committees. And I think that it should come under the oversight of the clerk rather than the city manager. Thank you.
Kenneth H. 776 Northeast 125th Street. I think we have 20 boards now in the city. Yeah, 30. And some of them are very, very important. and only 2 of them require that you be a registered voter within the city. One is the Personnel Board, and the other one is the Parks Commission. And I think that should be expanded to the Charter Review Board, Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, and Nuisance Abatement Board. And the reason that I bring that up is when you're on a board, you have a big megaphone. But if you can't vote, why should you be on the board? And I'm not worried about, let's say, the CRA. He could be a business person, something like that. But if you're on the Nuisance Abatement Board, you can actually take away a person's certificate of use. Now, to serve on a jury downtown, you have to be a citizen and a voter. If you don't vote, you know, these are 5 key boards. The rest of them, I'll give you an example. The MOCA board. You want people that live outside the city, who have big dollars, who can contribute. That's okay, but these 5 boards directly impact the residents of the city. And if you're going to have a megaphone and be able to speak on it, you should be a registered voter. And again, I reiterate, the Charter Review Board, the Personnel Board, which right now you have to be a registered voter. The Parks Commission, you have to be a registered voter. I think the Planning Commission, you should be a registered voter. Again, the Board of Adjustment, you should be a registered voter, because you have effects on on your fellow citizens. You actually have an effect on their destiny. And if you don't have the roots within the city, then why should you have that overall effect on your fellow citizens? It just makes sense. And the other one is the Nuisance Abatement Board. We don't use it too often, but if you're sitting on there, like I say, you can take away somebody's certificate of use. You can close down a motel or what have you, an apartment building. So from that standpoint, I believe that you should be a registered voter of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is still open on the item. Public hearing is now closed. Can I hear a motion?
Before I make a motion, a couple quick questions.
Good.
We have a provision in place already that if somebody misses 3 meetings, I think it's 3 consecutive meetings, they are automatically removed from said board. Am I mistaken in remembering that? Does anybody know?
I don't know that right offhand.
I think
No,
it's
it had
3
nothing to do with
unexcused
quorum.
absences in a year, I believe it is.
Maybe we need to tighten that up. I'm almost sure that it's as I stated, because we've had this discussion before. If somebody misses 3 meetings, obviously if it's an excuse, they're in the hospital or something like that, that's okay. But if it's not excused and there's not a quorum, that it's not then said, well, we didn't have a quorum, so they didn't actually miss the meeting. So I think we need to tighten that up, because if somebody's automatically removed, which was the intent of that provision, it was put in place to try to clean this up. Secondly, oh my gosh, where else was I gonna go with this? Definitely, everybody's saying this should fall under the clerk's office and under the manager's office. Residents who serve on these boards, if there's an issue with somebody not showing up,
Call us.
council members don't know. So if my appointee misses several meetings and nobody tells me, I assume that they're there. I would think it would be fantastic for all boards if they liaison with the council members and the council in whole on what they're doing and talking about. These are your boards, not our boards, not staff's boards. Own your agenda, call your own meetings, and report back to council about what's happening. Don't just wait for staff to tell you what's gonna be on your agenda. It's community board, it's not staff's board. My opinion, rock on with setting your own agendas and talking about things you wanna talk about. And there was something else I was gonna say about missing meetings, maybe it'll come back to me, I'm sorry.
If through the mayor, if you would allow me, this amendment does not intend to move, I guess, oversight from the city clerk to the city manager's office. The city clerk's functions will remain as they are. This is actually a review process for the council, actually, because ultimately, all the city manager's office is doing is collecting the reports and making sure they get on the agenda for your consideration, and they're setting up the meeting. All of the board applications, qualifications reviews, and all those things will remain with the board. This is just, again, we were just trying to make, and working in collaboration with our elected clerk, making sure we had something in place to ensure that there is almost, I guess, I'm gonna use the word, the board chairs are kind of forced to come to here and make that declaration to you directly.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so when it comes to board, I served on boards for so many years. And Sarah, thank you for sharing, but I think what people need to realize, or we all need to realize, we all play a big role in this. The liaison, the board member, and the council member. When I was a board member, I actually reported to the persons that would actually appoint me and let them know what was going on. But for an effective board, we all need to participate. The liaison needs to participate, the board members need to participate, and like Councilman Galvin said, is if you're going to a meeting, there's no quorum, let us know, and we'll do what we need to do to make sure that we're either replace the person or whatever it is. And somebody mentioned that we shouldn't be eliminating boards. I don't think the intent is to eliminate any boards, but if the board is not effective or not a board that's functioning properly, then it should be eliminated.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Manager,
I'm so sorry. I have one more question. I wanted to ask a question to the city manager. In terms of registered voters, could you, that's what I meant to say, the city attorney, if I said manager, I'm sorry. Could you kind of, I guess, explain that, clarify that, please?
I'd actually, if that's a question, I'd like to come back to the board.
Oh, sure.
Because this has come up multiple times, and I don't have a briefing in front of me, but it's come up before in the past. I know I've looked at it. There was some case law that says you can't require citizenship to be a member of the board, but I don't want to go by memory. So if that's
Right.
what you want, then I'll come back with a report.
Right. And my feeling is that I think it's actually somewhat unfair. It's so great if you're a registered voter. It's great, but there are people that actually are vested in this community, live here for 20, 30 years, and are not American citizen for whatever reason, but they're very vested, and so they should be able to serve. So I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing prohibiting. I'm not against a registered voter, obviously, but if someone is not a registered voter and want to serve, I'm just trying to understand what is wrong with that, especially if the person has property or is invested in their community.
There's a lot of residents, property owners, taxpayers that aren't registered voters, and whether it's citizenship or just choosing not to vote, or felons, you know.
Under 18.
Yeah, that too.
Under 18. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons
Yeah.
people, you know, I think if someone's owning property and paying taxes on it, I think they have a vested interest.
Right, but that doesn't mean that if
I'm in
some.
agreement with
right.
you.
That's
Oh,
what
okay.
she said.
Yeah, right.
She's agreeing with you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Yes, sir.
I would agree with both of my colleagues, but I just want to applaud the manager's office and the clerk for coming up with this resolution. Is it an ordinance or resolution? An ordinance. Just because we have been talking about this ever since I was clerk, we had issues of the boards not functioning properly, et cetera, et cetera. And this is just one step towards correcting something that's greater than the greater goods, because I think we do have to look at it piece by pieces, because I think Bill made some good suggestion and other residents made other decent, recommendation, because I'm confused about, how many members I have on one board and this and that, but I think we could tackle those issues at a later date, but this is a good step moving in the right direction, so I fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Scott.
No further questions.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Move
Can I
a
have your
motion
motion?
to approve.
Second.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Desome to approve the item at tab P. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Estime Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Desome, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab Q, proposed ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of North Miami entitled Administration. This seems to be the same one. I apologize. Yeah, it's not the one. I apologize. Tab Q. An ordinance, first reading of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of North Miami entitled Administration, Article 3, entitled Boards, Committees, Commissions, to establish the North Miami Youth Council, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab Q.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Marie-Estime. Can you explain?
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this ordinance. This would be creating a North Miami Youth Council. So the North Miami Youth Council will serve as a youth forum allowing students and teens of our local community to voice their opinions and wants on local initiatives. Through the North Miami Youth Council, teens will be able to forge relationships with local leaders and professionals, as well as garner the ability to understand the value and impediment of free speech, discuss and learn about local issues of importance, and be challenged to discover ways in which they can actively participate in public life. As a result, as a result of this unique experience, the Youth Council members will be exposed to differing viewpoints while having the opportunity to share their ideas in a public space. So basically, in a nutshell, this would be a junior council. So this gives the ability for each council person here to appoint 2 students. It also gives the clerk's office an ability to appoint a student, the city manager, and the city attorney's office. And these students, talking from the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, will have an ability to talk about issues that affect them in North Miami and present it to council. So I think this is a good initiative for our youth. To have them understand what public life is all about and to deal with some of the issues that we are dealing with. There are some, our very own county, Miami-Dade County, has a youth commission as well, and I'd love for our city to have one. So I'm asking my colleagues to support this. I think this will be good for the future of our community.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is open on tab Q. Public hearing is now
Okay.
Kenneth Each, 776 125th. Councilwoman Mary, I'm a little bit confused. Don't we have the Youth Opportunity Board? Is that, this is going to be something different than that? We have currently a Youth Opportunity Board.
Yes.
Right, but it's
So this would be different than?
Yes, it would be.
Because I was a little bit confused. And those are one of the boards that I say, hey, you don't have to be a registered voter for. I just want you to remember something. Right now, 2 boards. The Parks Commission, it says in that you have to be a registered voter, and the Personnel Board, the members of the community that live here have to be a registered voter. What I'm saying to you is the other key boards, I think you should be, there's other boards that you don't have to be a registered voter for. And, okay, I want to make that very clear.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. Public hearing is now closed. A quick question. Do we have a youth council before?
Yeah.
That was Dr. Joseph's. Tried.
I'm sorry. Through the mayor, that was Mayor Smith Joseph did implement a youth council.
Yes.
I think it was in his last, at the end of his term.
Yeah, I understand it was him, but did we pass an ordinance in regards to that?
I don't think we did an ordinance for it. It was something that we just created. It might have been a resolution that we created to move forward.
And that was my question through the attorney. Would this be in a resolution? I like the idea because I know Miami Gardens have one, but I know several cities have done it because the League of Cities, that's one of the things that they're promoting. Is this a resolution? Because I know we are having issues with our current board, so how do we get the parents to get them here? So would this be better serve as a resolution, you know, at creating this, or putting this into the fabric, because we do have, like, the Youth Opportunity Board that kind of, not serve the same purpose, but, well, kind of, in a way, but that's my question to you.
It's really a decision of the council.
Right.
I think the request was that it be codified in our code of ordinances, and so if that's the case, it would have to be a
Right, so I
ordinance change.
Respectfully, I would like it to be an ordinance. It is similar to the Youth Opportunity Board, but I don't think it's the same thing. I think this gives a more comprehensive experience of what the public life. So there basically would be junior councilmen or councilwomen. They'll have an election to choose a mayor or chairperson and go through the experience. They would meet.
Yeah, I understand why
right.
would like to do a resolution instead of an ordinance.
Respectfully, I would like it to be an ordinance, because I want our city to have sworn junior elected, appointed. Yeah, they would.
Sworn.
Let me see the.
Can we check the National League of Cities, because they're the one that recommend that we do that, to see what is it?
This
because
is
she's talking. My councilwoman said swearing.
So just so I could explain, Miami-Dade County has a youth commission, and this is done.
They swear them too?
Yeah, they swear them in, and they take an oath to serve, and they deal with local teen issues. Yeah, this is not abnormal.
Are they going to be
subject to the sunshine? Yes, they are.
Ooh.
But they're under 18. How are you going to?
But it exists, sir.
If I may, Councilwoman Irvin, this is the first reading. I would ask that we move forward today and let staff go back and do some more research and we'll come up with some of the bylaws and how Councilwoman Irvin wants to move the agenda forward. And I'll bring it back at the second one, and we'll do a full presentation in conjunction with Councilwoman Irvin to move this legislation forward for the second reading. If that's okay with the board.
I have a question. Who's going to be running this? Who's going to be running and making sure this goes forward?
It would be under. It would be under the city manager's office. It's stated in the resolution, and there are details there.
I'm trying to pull up. Can you help me,
I
Natasha,
tried
pull
to
this
appoint
thing up?
someone to my Youth Opportunity Board like 6 months ago, and it's like, I don't even know if she's been appointed. I don't know that they've had a meeting. So again, this is it's all part of checking the boards and see if they're useful. But I've got someone in high school, very anxious to do it, never heard a word. It's been since the election. So I want to know before we do an ordinance and make this mandatory, let's see exactly what it is, who's going to be running it. I mean, you say the manager's office. Who in the manager's office? The manager?
No, it's under the city manager. The city manager will then decide who's going to manage it.
So we have staff to do that.
I will say right off that yes, we would, and with it being a youth council, our management analyst, I'm looking most likely, and when we did see this, looking at our management analyst be the one to work with the board. He works with one other board right now, which is the Charter Review Board. So he'll be the one that will be. Well, doesn't mean, because we didn't have a quorum the last couple of
We didn't have
times.
one for 4 years, so that's like just doing nothing.
No, not doing nothing. We've had several meetings, and the next meeting is, I think, the next week, Wednesday, and that one is gonna be finalizing some very important issues that we've been working on over the last couple months.
I'm not opposing. I'm just asking some questions. I would like to know what the responsibility of each council person is, because the previous time there were meetings and, you're going to have a person that you're going to be mentoring, and I want to know what's going to be required of me.
What is based on what the ordinance is written, what would be required of you is to just appoint 2 students. Now, they have to just be in the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. They can be either in the public school system or the private schools, as long as they're North Miami resident. That's what is expected of you.
Disappointment, not.
Just appointment.
Not attending the meetings or the council meetings.
No.
They suppose, so who do they, so they're advising, are they advising me or are they advising us as a?
The same, they are going to be mimicking exactly what we do, and except that they are talking about their issues. For example, in putting this together or working with the city attorney's office, I actually contacted the Miami-Dade counties. Theirs is supervised under the juvenile department, okay? And I asked, so what are the kids talking about? So one of the things that the kids are talking about climate change. So they're talking about their perspective of climate change. What else are they talking about? Food sharing. I was like, well, what do you mean by food sharing? There's a concern that some kids only have a meal. The meal that they have at school is the only meal that they have for the day. So some of the teens have decided that, you know what, let's have a sharing table. After school, whatever, because apparently the foods that are served during lunch or for school afterwards are thrown away. So they decided that they wanted to have a table so that they can have an opportunity for kids to just go ahead and take the food home that would not have, so that they can have another meal. So they will be dealing with their own issues. I've asked about issues they've done in the past, probably cyberbullying or what social media issues, whatever it is that they want to talk about. And then another thing that happened based on my research is that maybe we'll have a community leader person come, and that would be the liaisons that could arrange that and give them, have a role model to tell them about whatever it is that they'd like to know about. So this is not, I think we're making it sounds like we think it's more complicated than it is, but the Youth Commission, for example, meet at 3:30. So like right after school, they would meet, well, not at their appointed time. I'm suggesting here that they meet on the third Tuesday of the month, and they'll just meet once a month, third Tuesday of the month at 3:30, or whatever time the liaison, right after school. And they don't have to be here for long. Whoever the liaison will help them out, and then they can present at whenever it is decided to us what they've been doing. Like I said, they are sworn in. So that they understand. The whole point is for them to understand government. That's the whole point. That's one of the points.
Vice Mayor.
Quick question. I'm just like Councilwoman Keys. I want to get there with the resolution, but just some few questions. I know Councilwoman Irving is getting this as an ordinance. My only scary part about this is, and I know the county, they operate totally different, is that these kids are subject to sunshine law requirement, that they only serve for 1 year. So what happens, do they go to the Ethics Commission? Do they go to the state attorney? Do they go to jail? So I need to figure out, before we get there, what if these are kids, so, and they in high school. So if they do share something that they are, Mr. Attorney, is that something that you could research for us to find out what is what happens if they break the law? Because that's why I would feel 100% comfortable with this as a resolution, because I understand the previous mayor did have a youth council that did operate functioning, but I think it was just an administrative thing. I don't even think it's something that we came here and voted on. But if this is coming to us as a resolution, subject to, public requests, I'm assuming, that's just my thing, Mr. Attorney, if you could figure out what happened to these kids if they break the law? They get what? They go to jail, somebody said? I mean.
Well, the other thing is, if we make an ordinance.
Can the city attorney answer the question?
So this ordinance was modeled after the Miami-Dade County's Youth Commission. The language is almost exactly the same. This board would serve as an advisory board to the council, and any advisory board to the council, because the way sunshine laws work, any advisory board is subject to the sunshine laws. And so what happens if you break sunshine is what happens if any of us break sunshine. So
they'll go to jail.
But
basically.
why we
No
why
one-
are we
no one
thinking
goes
that
straight-
they
no
are
one goes straight to jail
that
for violating
so if
sunshine.
I may
Well, if you violate it,
well,
you know.
if I may, that's I think the opportunity here is to teach them this at this young age of what sunshine is. So you know,
you know,
So if we have an if we have an ordinance.
You done?
yes.
And the board doesn't work, then we have to undo an ordinance as opposed to a resolution. Whereas we do a resolution, we try it, it's working.
doesn't work.
Let's go ahead and
may-
set it in stone.
I beg of my colleagues to keep it as an ordinance. I really want this to be, I really think this is good for us, for our kids, for the city,
I think we all,
of us training future leaders. And I don't,
We
I
are-
don't want this to be a fluke.
Yeah.
I want it to be, I prefer that it's an ordinance. But again, you
No.
have your right to vote on it.
No,
but
I'm totally in support of the idea. It's just, I'm just trying to get administration and the attorney to explain to me where I feel comfortable. I don't want to vote for something and then the residents started calling me, what did you just do that my kids could go to jail? Because this is serious. I understand the county does, but I would like for more research just so that we would, as far as that, yes, sir.
Through the mayor. If you've seen any of these types of boards operate, the subject matters these children are talking about tend to be mock subject
Yes.
matters and not issues of approving multi-million-dollar construction contracts, purchases of commodities and assets on behalf of the city, and issues that would get them put in jail for violating sunshine. They tend to be mock. I don't know if in drafting the second reading of the ordinance, you can kind of stipulate that, no, these are mock issues. While they may be advisory to the city council, they're not necessarily, I wouldn't expect them necessarily to opine on, certain matters, if you will. I could see them dealing with, environmental issues or resiliency issues as a discussion matter, if you will, because that's kind of popular right now. Like you said, cyberbullying or issues that affect high school students. They may tell you they want more books at their school, which is not really a matter for, the city council to deal with, but it could be a discussion matter of this. The other thing I think is really the purpose, and my fraternity, or actually Jeff's and I's fraternity, have an organization that we started back in the, I think the 20s, called Guide Right Program, where we have a group called the Kappa Leaguers, and actually this board funded the local chapter's Kappa League group. And we actually, as far as procedure and being a council, we're actually just teaching them Robert's Rules of Order and civil procedure, which is really part of the purpose of having them convene in a board setting, and not really the issue of X. I was also in one of those organizations, and the biggest thing we argued about was the annual dance that we were putting on and raising money for, and not real issues that would truly affect them, but maybe perhaps putting mock, if it to be an ordinance, put in there that these are mock issues and not issues for necessarily real consideration for the board going forward.
And I understand, Mr. Manager, like I said, I'm in support of the idea, but especially when you say subject to, and I think Councilwoman Irving saying trying to teach the kids how to model this, so that is a pretty good component as far as the public, it says our section 2-258, the meetings, it says youth council, which is subject to government in the sunshine and public records requirements. So if that's where, I don't know if that section needs to come off or whatever the case is. I know this is, but this is serious. And I don't think it's not about what they're voting on, it's just about that's the law. I don't think, if they see Councilwoman Keys or the mayor or or Councilman Galvin and I, or even Councilman Irving and I speaking about something, it could be something not even related. Automatically, people just assume that, it's probably city-related business. When we it could be about family, about something related to that. So like you said, perhaps mocking, just making this, because I know this came in as the mayor did it under administrative rule, which is different. So I want to be in support of it, but we got to be making sure that this is serious. If we're voting for an ordinance that's going to be in the life of the city, that we're not getting future, somebody may be upset with another kid in high school and say, okay, I'm going to get you. And I'm going to write something to the whatever, to say, you talked about this, and these are kids, and we don't know. We just have to make sure that we cross all of the I's and all of that T's dotted when it comes to kids, especially subject to public and, different things. That's all. Thank you.
Councilwoman, you want to add anything?
No, I have nothing to add. I would like to just it to be considered as an ordinance.
Did you open it?
Yeah, we had.
Yeah, it was always already open. But may I have a point of privilege, please? Mr. Mayor, may I allow Councilman Jacques Despinos to say a word, some words, please?
About what? About this?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Jacques Despinos, 95 Northeast, 131st Street. I think the youth board, whatever you want to call it, is not that much headache in it. If you take, for example, with the Senator Wilson, the 5,000 role model, that's what I believe you want to show the kid. You use the words, how to behave. They can be a role model for the student. And how the city work, you're not going to give them the responsibility. We will take them to jail because for what they say or what they do, because you don't give them that much. By the way, you take them to show them, to take their responsibility. But you can check with the county. You are not the first municipality, or are you the first municipality who come with such idea? I don't think so.
No.
It's easy. Do you have to vote in the tonight? Maybe not. That's not the urgency and that's not emergency at the same time. But the idea is very good. Give you time to piggyback and other municipalities, if they have it. That can be the role of the city manager to go there, reach out to his colleagues, other municipalities, know exactly you have it, how you do it. But I think it's a good idea for the kids. But too many kids are in the street, too many kids are going to high school. They don't even have an idea what's going on here. As a local government, well, forget about the federal government. They should know, but they don't know anything. That's a good idea. But they need to worship.
Thank you very much. And I think the discussion now is not like we're not in favor of the idea of creating a youth council. The discussion is between a resolution and an ordinance, right? And
Right. And I guess I just feel very strongly about it being an ordinance. I do really feel that way. So I hope that you guys would consider that. Like the city,
Can I
the
make a
interim
motion
city
to
manager.
approve? We're gonna be here all night. We're not
Right.
even voting.
And we can come with a second reading and maybe you get more comfortable, like.
Vice Mayor, you were
yes.
going to say something before.
No, Mr. Attorney, is it possible you could look at Miami Gardens resolution, because I think they have a resolution. And they they run it pretty well, and I think the Florida League of Cities. So we can't compare, I don't even know what the county does, of another municipal, or another city. I guess that's the end of my time.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, that's just, that's just my, if we could see or kind of mirror.
If the concern is the government sunshine, we can, I mean, you can, again, as the deputy said, you could pass the ordinance on first reading, and we can come back with language. I mean, we can not make them an advisory board, and then that would probably get rid of the whole sunshine.
Okay.
So, I mean, there are ways to fix this, but
Okay.
I don't think anybody's intent is to send children to jail.
Okay, well, we got
Why are you so
Because
strong
it-
on ordinance opposed to resolution?
Because first of all, I want it to be lasting. I want this to be, I think I would like for our city to have junior councilwoman, councilmen, so they can have a great model and go through the whole experience of coming up here. I mean,
So with the resolution, it wouldn't be permanent?
I'm not saying that the resolution, but I just really would like to have the ordinance.
Make a
And I-
motion to approve.
Councilman, I have a question, a quick question, and I understand. No, if that's the intent, to do this, not, because I'm with Councilwoman Keys with the resolution, but I understand where Councilwoman Irving is coming from. If we doing this properly, and I'm just saying, if we're gonna do this, we can't have 13 members because we don't have 13 members. So it has to be either 5 of us, and then you have, we can't just say we're doing something, we want to do something. If we're mimicking the council, then perhaps, we do that. If it's 5,
13?
yeah, because it's the clerk, because they're not municipal.
If you read it
Mhm. I didn't read
carefully,
all of them.
right. So the other, for example, the clerk's appointee, the city manager's appointee,
So
the
they'll be
city attorney, they
administration.
would be non-voting members.
So
The
it's
voting
5?
members would be the ones that we select. I mean, if you want to
10?
reduce that to 5, that's fine, but we're just talking about meeting quorum, we're talking
How
about
many are
kids.
with the county?
If I'm not mistaken, do you remember, Jeff? I want to say like 26, I think it is, and plus, because they have members, 13 of them, and they all appoint 2, and then the prospective other offices get non-voting members as well.
They didn't say anything, you're gonna be.
I'm sorry?
I'm talking to her. Go ahead.
And you,
we doing?
Councilwoman, you strongly want the
The ordinance, yes, sir.
yeah, I don't know, where do I go here?
Well, you vote.
Okay, this,
Okay.
I'm
I mean-
just gonna we're gonna pass the first reading. If we feel like strongly from the National League of Cities on that youth council that, and they would comment that in order to help the youth, and then we will change it to a resolution at the next council, right?
Okay.
Yes, we will, my office will work with Councilwoman Irvin. I'll review the League of
Not
Cities.
council, yeah, to review the League of
League of
Cities
Cities and Miami
other
Gardens
cities and
other
to
cities,
see
how they
what's
do
the
it, and
proper.
we'll put something together to come back for second reading.
Okay,
yes.
thank you very much.
Let me just be clear, Mr. Mayor. So are we saying that we're voting to do the research to convert this into resolution? Because I'm okay with that.
No,
or
we're voting on this, the
As
first
is?
reading and then
Wait,
the second reading.
Wait. Yes, go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I got my answer. I'm fine. Thank you.
That's what I
We
believe,
what?
right?
What is the question?
What I'm saying is, my office will work with, we're gonna approve first reading tonight, as is. My office will work with Councilwoman Irvin. We will review the National League of Cities and other cities as to their process and how it's adopted and how it's carried out. We will come back with Councilwoman Irvin and bring it to the dais. You guys will get the update during the briefings, when we have your briefings on what we come up with prior to the next meeting, and then we'll vote at the next meeting. It still has to have 2 readings, so.
Okay,
Let's
at the
approve it
next
tonight.
one?
At the next one,
No,
it's
at the
fine.
next, if you realize everyone else have been doing it to a resolution, then we will change it?
Well, we can have a resolution in place by the next one if we're gonna change it.
If we come back with a recommendation that's substantially different, then we would have to have a third reading anyway. If it's,
Okay.
if it's so substantially different from this reading,
Mhm.
that it's completely changed, then we'd have to come back either
With the
as a
first
third
reading.
reading, or we'd have to come back as a resolution.
Okay. Can I hear the motion again?
Move approval?
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab Q. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estime Irvin. Vice Mayor Desilme, how do you vote?
Yes.
What'd you say, Mr.
He
Mayor?
said yes.
Oh, are you
If
voting
we
for
have to
me?
change
Don't-
it, we
don't-
will change it next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilwoman Estime Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
The item passes with a 5-0 vote.
Okay, that's been reviewed and based on the National League of Cities recommendation. Thank you. Okay. And okay, can we go to tab S, then we will come back on tab R, please? Madam Clerk.
Tab S, discussion regarding Oaks land sale. Tab S.
Is a discussion, is the, yes.
Let-
Yes, sir.
Let me, if I may, Vice Mayor, before Mr. Hellinger speaks, I'd like to, we're here, we did follow the direction of the council at the last meeting. The direction of the council was, and the manager, we decided to take a step back and do a appraisal on the value of the land. That appraisal did come in, for the Oaks property at approximately $9.5 million. That's what the appraisal came back as. As I say that, I'll turn it over to, the city manager to finish.
Just very quickly, as Deputy just put on the record, following the directive from December 10th, we got the appraisal done. The appraisal came back at $9,550,000, which is basically $986,000 an acre. We wanted to bring it back to the council for your consideration, and I guess a directive to either, proceed to closing if that is the will of the board. We asked Attorney Hellinger to come. I think he wanted to ask an indulgence of the council here at the meeting, so I'll turn it over to him.
Andrew Hellinger, 15051 Royal Oaks Lane, North Miami. I'm the receiver at the 151 at Biscayne Condominium Association. Over the last few years, the association has attempted to buy out the land lease that is affecting the ownership at each of the 373 units. We had conducted our own cash flow analysis to value the future cash stream to the city. The city had accountants do that as well. We came up with a valuation that I think the manager at the time had generally agreed with, subject to council review, of about $8.5 million. And so we went ahead and made that proposal to the city through the manager's office. At the last council meeting when this was brought up, the council members requested that a appraisal of the land itself be done, and gave some guidance to the manager that the city's rules was about 90% of land value for the city to accept and offer. So I just want to let you know that based upon the appraised value at $9,550,000, the accountants and the folks that valued the property on a cash flow basis, they came up at $8,500,000. That is right about at that 90% value. But what we would like to do is request that the council give guidance to the manager so that we can enter into a final agreement and get to a closing date. For us to get to closing, I'm going to need a ordinance or resolution from the council. I'll leave it up to our lawyers to tell us what we need, or the city's attorney. But I have to take that to our lender. We have a lender on standby to fund the sale, but I need a document that says we have a deal and the manager needs some guidance from the council. So we are requesting that you give the manager guidance on what the purchase price should be and what our next steps are to get to an agreement, and a final agreement, and then closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hollinger. Mr. Mayor, go ahead. He just completed public request. I'm sorry. I know you was coming up. It's open to the public. Yes.
It's not open to the public. It's a discussion.
Oh, it's a
item.
discussion. I see,
Yeah,
Bill.
yeah,
See, Bill,
no,
you
no.
confusing me. You're
No, it's a
standing up for
discussion
everything.
item,
Yes,
man.
that is correct. I'm sorry. I take
And,
that back.
Okay. And thank you very much. And yes.
Sure. Quick question for management. Are we haggling over dollars still, or is just a procedural issue you need direction on?
No, I think right now is a discussion item.
Yeah,
Then
it's-
since
But
you
that's what
already
I'm
did
unclear.
the survey, not the survey, the appraisal and thing like that, you're gonna continue to work with them.
We're just, well, let me characterize it this way. At that last discussion, it was asked or stated on the record about the city's code that allows for us to accept a number less than the actual appraised value. If you do that calculation, that number comes out about 9.6 million or so. So really, this was about what? 8.6. Sorry, I'm sorry. My apologies. So this was really about coming back to the board to get direction. Do you want us to pursue a transaction
That's a
under that?
discussion,
Yeah,
isn't
that's what I'm saying. The discussion.
But here's where I'm confused, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry. I've heard 8.6 at the last meeting. I'm hearing 9.5 tonight. That's $1 million difference.
Correct.
Are we giving you direction to come back with something in the middle, or are we giving you direction to come back with 8.6 or 9.5?
No, first,
Like,
listen, first of all, and our code said we cannot sell it for less than 90%.
Correct.
Right.
But we can sell it for 150%. That's what
well,
it is.
I
That's
mean,
what it is.
I guess commercially,
That's meaning
yes,
the
yes.
negotiation. That's when you got to go in the negotiation. We start at a number. We come up to a number. You can come up with the lowest number. Just said 90%.
90% is the floor. Yes.
That's the.
Okay. Yeah.
We cannot sell it for less than
Than that
90%.
number.
So we're
But we
giving-
always can sell it for 200%.
if that's what's
That's
agreed to.
right.
So we're
That's what
giv-
it is.
We're just giving you direction on negotiating a price and then bringing a sale
Yeah,
price back
when-
to us.
Whatever it is.
And whatever, I guess you need a resolution.
Whatever
or-
it is. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
as far as haggling is concerned, and the attorney said it correctly, we did a present value analysis of the future payments. We agreed to the discount rate and came up with the previous number, which I agree, I was reasonably acceptable of those assumptions, but then you gave us the direction to actually go out and get the appraisal. The appraiser was shared with that analysis that we did. He was shared the documentation that I think all of you have reviewed from our consultant, to St. Pierre, and he actually analyzed the discount rate. He basically kind of did the exact same calculation we did, but came up with some variables that affected the discount rate a bit. Actually, was more conservative. So that's why we get to that number. So that being the case, I'm just.
And the other thing too,
Yeah.
we got to take in. Do we have any past due payment?
No, we verified that before we brought it back to you the last time. All the payments are up to date.
Okay, bring us working, bring us something so we can decide it on. Okay.
Can you, Mr. Mayor, through the mayor, I want, as far as clear direction, so.
What it is, okay, you did the appraisal.
Yes, sir.
Right? You're going to present it to them, and you're going to agree on a number and whatever it is, right? And you discuss with all council members, and after that, you come up with a final
No problem.
version that you both agree on.
No problem, sir.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay.
because the 90%, he said, you cannot sell it for less
than
than
90%.
90%, but you can sell it for 300%. That's,
I think,
We know what our baseline is.
yeah,
You'll come back with
exactly.
something.
Come
Right.
back with some numbers, okay? Thank you very much. That's when it's like we wanna negotiate. We good neighbor, but
I
we
understand,
just
sir.
gotta come up with
Thank you.
something. Thank you very much, sir. Now, and it's nice tab R, and
Tab R.
Councilwoman Marie, yes.
Tab R, discussion of allocation for the Sole Mia land sale / participation rent proceeds.
Okay.
Tab R.
Okay, so basically, just in consideration with the deficit, consideration with other things that we'd like to do, I'd like to just discuss on how we'd like to allocate the funding that are not allocated, which is the what, 10.7 mil? Is that correct? Right.
This is
So
money from the sale
for
of
Solomia.
Solomia.
Correct.
Wait,
Right. And
let's
then it-
wait. She's not done yet.
No, I know. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Right, so I'm just suggesting that we take a portion of it, address it towards the deficit. A portion, I have some ideas on how I'd like to allocate it, and I would
Yeah,
love for
but
us to
you're
share that.
the one come up with the discussion. You gotta bring what
Okay.
you wanna bring on the table.
So I would like at least 4 million of it to go towards the deficit. I would like another, I want to say 2 million if possible to go towards Cagney so that we can meet our goal for Cagney Park. And I'd like some, and I can talk about the exact dollars later, some of it to go to some dollars to go towards some of our parks that need some attention. But that's the hard ball of the dollars, and then I'll just
It's
leave the
10.7.
suggestion.
You the one that come with the
Mr. Mayor,
discussion, come with
but
your
I can't do
number.
it. I'm not doing it alone. I'm doing it together. Those are my suggestions.
That's-
You
I
may
didn't-
have other
I
suggestions.
didn't bring the item. Come with everything you wanna
No, I don't have
see.
everything. This is what I have right now, and I'll leave it to my colleagues to have. I don't know, my colleagues may have other suggestions as well, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, first
So
of all,
thank
let me come up with something. We know we had $8.1 million budget deficit from the previous year. And as of right now, we're still asking how much it is for this year. We don't have the number yet. That's mean we don't know yet. Secondly, we know now we are borrowing money from our enterprise fund to cover the general fund and a lot of issues. But before the sale of the land, right, we agree here that a part of that money will cover the new community center on site. And also we need $4 million to complete Cagney Park. That's mean from that 10.7 money is really, there is no money for us to do other things. The first money, you don't have to, the first part of the money is going toward a new community center.
Mr. Mayor, if you would, that I'm not including the community money out of that. The 2 million that is not.
We're not
I'm not
talking about the
assuming
2 million
that it's in
now.
the 10.7.
Madam-
The
Madam-
community center, I'm not. I know that.
Which
Wait,
community
wait,
center?
wait.
You're talking about the one that associated with
Talking about
Solomia.
Solomia Community
Right,
Center,
right.
yes.
So I already know that there's a 2 million that's allocated towards that, so I'm not talking about that.
Right, but-
I'm
No,
not
it's
talking
not.
about the other 2 million that's allocated for affordable housing. I'm not talking about that either. I'm sorry?
Listen, we don't have the money yet. Maybe when the money is available, become available, then we will discuss that. And I don't
I'm
think
okay
we
with
are-
that. I'm okay with
I don't
that.
think it's
Yeah.
appropriate
I
that.
would just like to say something, because we are having this, and we can't discuss it amongst ourselves. So I would just like to make something that is very important to me, that I've only told management, is About 2 years ago, when Solomia exercised their option to close on the residential parcel, which was an 8 million given number, we took 3 million of that anticipated revenue and put it in our budget. We didn't receive it, and we spent the 3 million expecting that to close. We didn't. So part of the deficit we had about 2 years ago, 3 million was because we included Solomia. So absolutely, I'm 100% with you. 3 million, we've already borrowed from the kitty. We've already spent 3 million of the 8. I am very strongly want that to go back to the reserve. If you want to put another million in the reserve, I will wholeheartedly support that. The rest of it, I know.
There's
will
no
be going
rest of the money.
Well, there is. There's 6,700,000.
What's the? You have almost $15 million budget deficit. That's money
Well,
we
I'm
have to
not-
struggle under the two. Guys, let's not.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just saying of the 10.7, absolutely 3, minimum 3 or 4 goes
It's
to
not even
reserve.
minimum tweet. First of all, the rent participation, the 10.7, need to be calculated on a timeline period. That's mean if it's money that should come 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, gotta go in the budget so we not have the same issues than
Right.
last time.
Very good
Are you correct? And can you say that the 2.7, the rent participation?
Advance payment for rent, yes,
Yes,
sir.
this one you cannot count on that 2.7.
Yes, sir.
That's the first thing.
I have a question, is the 2.7 a part,
Count it as income.
Go ahead. The first 2.7. Go ahead. What is?
is the 2.7 a part of this 10 million that we're talking about?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes, the rent participation is out of the
Thank you for
question,
clarification.
right?
Yeah.
Now it's only $8 million left,
Correct. So
and
you get-
$3 million of that, it's budgeted already,
It's been spent. So we're talking
right?
five
We have
million.
$5 million
budgeted in one
left.
of the budget, yes.
$5 million left, and we have the community, the Solemia Community Center. Councilman Galvin,
Thank
are
you.
you done?
Yes, I'm done for now.
Okay, go
May I,
ahead.
may I make a suggestion, friendly
Mhm.
suggestion? We have the Solomia money that's coming in at approximately 10.7 million. And soon we'll have the Oaks, bless you, the Oaks money come in at approximately 9 million. How about once we've got both of those deals closed and we know what big pot of money we're working with?
That's
we
what
allow-
it is.
We allow staff to come back then and say, okay, here's
Use
what
the
we've got,
allocation.
and
This
here's
is what is the deficit.
and here's where we have to spend money, and then here's the chunk that's left over that you can divide up amongst other projects. Because certainly I'm supportive of Solomia Park. We've got Griffin Park.
Not even Solemia. She need $4 million for Cagney.
Right.
That's
there's-
mean
there's- there's
you
Cagney,
need to find
there's
$4 million
Solemia.
for Cagney. That's when I don't. There's no other money
So,
left
Mr.
for
Mayor,
what you're talking
I have
about.
to find it, but, so make sure that I get the credit alone,
Well,
right,
but-
Mr. Mayor?
You come with it.
'Cause-
You come with
I just wanna-
$2 million
Right.
when I was discussing about getting $4 million. That's
And
when,
right now, Mr. Mayor, I don't feel like I know how much we're gonna have to work with.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna need more than 2 million for the Solomia Park.
We know
But
that.
I'll work with everybody else. I just
we-
need to have like concise understanding of
Yeah,
it.
when
I'm
we
okay
have
with that.
everything. Thank you very much. And
Okay.
you see, Vice Mayor, I haven't said anything, and you know. Okay. Then it's what is a discussion. Now let's do public citizen forum. Oh, you wanna leave? It's citizen forum. Can you
Veron-
go ahead? Then? Can you say that you have to leave now, or you wanna wait?
Excuse me, I do have to step out for a few minutes. I don't want to be, you think I'm rude. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Veronica Guzman, 540 Northwest 127th Street. A pattern that I'm seeing now, as I've been coming to these meetings, is money being spent before we even get it. I'm going to refer it back to the Red Garden discussion earlier in the meeting. I appreciate Vice Mayor Desulme reiterating that Joe Celestine site is our property and we don't have to rent it, we don't have to pay for it, that people would be paying us. I'm not in agreement with paying somebody to promote an event on our site when we're paying for rent for it. and building out the property for such a purpose. The Joe Celestine site, even though it wasn't off 95, it can't be seen from 95, it's still directly off 95. And because there's one-way traffic on both sides, I think it would have been easier and alleviate the problem that it's gonna cause on 7th Avenue. I haven't seen much promotion for these events that are happening, so I'm not so sure that we're gonna recoup our money this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street. Again, council, you have operated in complete, total negative, no transparency, zero transparency. This Red Garden thing came out of nowhere. All of a sudden appears Red Garden. Here it is Tuesday, we hear a presentation about Red Garden. And when is it going to be? Thursday. 2 days later. That's absolutely horrendously ridiculous what you have done. And additional, for Dr. Desime to say that he knew nothing about it, and this being in his district, is again absurd. You had no input from the community on that side, which is where it happened to be where I live, on the west side in Sunkist Grove, where this event is going to be held. I want to get a copy. I asked for, I want to get a copy of the American records request for who is it that we are contracted with or to in these events. On Eventbrite, it lists 5 different parties, 5 different parties that are scheduled to take place, with fees ranging from $10 to $500. And it talks about being a cigar, having a cigar lounge, a super smoke party. What's a super smoke party? Super smoke party? DJ Nasty? Sophisticated dancers? A players club? This is outrageous and absurd. You have dishonored our community by scheduling such an event. And I am deeply offended, being a resident of North Miami and also a resident of Sunkist Grove. You had no input from us, from the community, and you've dishonored your seats.
Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace in Sunkist Grove. Red Garden. I was delighted that the land was cleared, and for years and years we wanted something on that site. But when I read the advertisement that they were going to have elevated beds and liquor flowing, I know it's a party, but that's a bit much. One event is going to last until 4 a.m. in the morning. Well, the sign is already out warning the residents, and I thank the Miami Police Department about the traffic, because I give them some, heads up notices. But I did contact my council person in regards to what's going on, what's coming. I too am happy about the Super Bowl, and it's a money-making event, the Super Bowl. And I do want North Miami to get a piece of the pie. But anything that's associated with Uncle Luke, I know Uncle Luke from back in the day. I don't want to date myself, but it is what it is. Nasty as you want to be. And when you have tickets from, the range is from $25, I think, to $500. I'm just concerned that I know everything is in place, the metal detectors, and it sort of speaks for itself when you say that most events have metal detectors now because we don't know. I've too attended these workshops where you don't know what's going to happen. But I'm hoping for the best. I would hate, we are trying to get Uptown 7th Avenue going. I don't want this to be downtown 7th Avenue on our end. I really don't. I really, really don't. I'm hoping that this thing will be pulled off. I hope we will get all the money that we invested in that and that we can move forward from this. But I really think that it was very, very, very disrespectful to have the council person in this area not to be in on this, or not to know anything about it, because I called him and I got on his back. And he kept saying, I don't know. And I'm saying, how can you not know? You're the council person. Who else can we call? So, this was I think was an oversight. But I really, really, really am sort of disappointed in this, just the idea when you say Uncle Luke, nasty as you want to be, 4 o'clock in the morning. I can just envision what's going to go on. And I'm hoping that it doesn't. But that's it.
Bob Pichon, 13005 Coronado Terrace. The event's the event. I mean, it is what it is. It could have been done better by us. But what I do believe, from what I've been able to see of it, we just have a bad deal. I mean, somebody mentioned the wharf as a pop-up opportunity. They're renting that place for high 6 figures this week, and the promoter takes care of the expenses. That's how those things work. We're putting this thing on. This is the best deal in the world for the promoter. We lend him the money, we give him some money, and we share in the proceeds until we get our money back. So we give him the loan. I mean, these guys need to come down. We need to run this like a business. If we're going to do this this one's done. The cows are out of the barn. But going forward, somebody that understands a business needs to talk to these people when we rent this out. Because this is the Super Bowl week. Guys are making a fortune at every other venue, and I'll be interested to see how much the city of North Miami makes off of this.
A quick question, Mr. Soe. What is the cost of the Saturday event?
The Saturday event with everything is probably right
Not the
at
city, I'm talking about the
total?
promoters and including
the ticket cost? Oh, the ticket costs do range from 25 to 500.
I'm talking about
The total to put
promoters'
the
contribution to the.
I believe the total price is going to be somewhere around almost 160, 170,000.
That's how much they spend. That's when they come up with
They're
about
gonna have to come up with
60,000,
60,000, yes.
and we come up with that. It's
Yes.
not like they come up
With nothing,
with
no, sir.
nothing. They come up with 60,000.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. Wanted to extend my appreciation sort of across the board tonight to Councilwoman Mayor Steve Irwin. Thank you for bringing up the initiative with the youth. I know that through your stewardship, it's going to be a very successful program. I enjoyed what I saw a few years back under Mayor Smith Joseph, and the participants seem to enjoy it as well. The Councilwoman Carol Keys, I appreciate you raising concern regarding metal detectors when some others were maybe belittling that. Having been a 9/11 early responder, having gone to the Oklahoma City bombing, and where numerous assassinations have taken place across the country and mass shootings, it's much more of a serious concern. And it's not whether it's in North Miami or if it's District 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's the Super Bowl. And we're creating a very soft target. And I don't want to be necessarily alarmist, but hopefully our police force will be aware of that. And I hope that there'll be enough funds so that they could secure a perimeter what could really happen if you have metal detectors on the inside. But you get some Yahoo coming out of the Panhandle who's been inspired by Charlottesville or whatever it might be, then we'll be on the map along with the rest of them. So tents aren't going to provide a lot of protection if someone wants to come in from 100 yards, 200 yards out with something, somehow, some way. And that's what the concern is, not a little skirmish on board. And Mr. Mayor, I thank you very, very much for standing up against, or not against, but standing up for the rights of the city in respect to development and selling city property and such, that I think we're finally getting a grasp that this is, we're not slighting the people that are looking to get ownership. Bless them, let's do it, let's let them have something. Let's let them have something at market or near market value, because anything less than that is slighting the 60,000 residents of North Miami. And we really don't want to do that. We want it to be fair and equitable, and by doing this, that will be the fairest thing. I can't believe that anybody could get high-rise land for less than $1 million an acre. Where can you get that? 20 stories, 30 stories? Where can you possibly get that? As I've said before, Dean's Gold sold for $10.1 million an acre some years back. And the other thing is that this land, which we unfortunately have left concessions to these developers, which happen to be billionaire developers, we've slighted the other people of the city. That land is going to be worth something in the future because it will be an island when the rest of the city is underground. So let's consider that is a valuable piece of property for the people. Thank you.
Sarah McDevitt, 14490 Northeast 10th Avenue. One of the things with Red Garden that didn't seem to be discussed at all this evening was parking. And I know that a small allotment of parking is there, but it just doesn't seem to be noted. And I'm sure everybody's excited for the commerce that'll be coming to the city, and hopefully people are ready to rent out their parking spaces in their yards, because I can't imagine where else people are going to be parking. So jack up the prices and take advantage if that's the only solace you have in people coming and invading your neighborhood.
Mr. Mayor.
We understand the parking, but it seems like people do not even know where 7th Avenue is located, and now they worry about parking for the area. Can you tell them that the two places
yes.
that you
For the record,
went
we've
for the parking?
worked out an agreement with Trinity Church, who have about 200 parking spaces behind their church, and we also have worked out with Javon Lumber. I think there's another 75 parking spaces there. In addition, the neighbor directly north of us, Global, which is a restaurant retail spot. They sell restaurant equipment. They have the parking in front of their building as well as the lot behind their building. So we've acquired parking for the event. Again, just to reiterate during the presentation, this is for maximum capacity build out for the site, as I did show in one of the slides. Immediately following the conclusion of the Super Bowl weekend, the large tent does leave. 3 of the tents do leave, and then that gives us, I want to say, another almost 80 parking spaces, along with the 50 parking spaces on the back end of the property. So it will be occasions moving forward, if it is the board's will, to move forward with the Red Garden, that we do maybe have a major event like this one that we're having this weekend. We will then move the planters out and then use the whole space. But on an everyday, the resident should not see any problems at all with parking on their swales when it's not major events. Thank you.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. I wasn't going to address the Red Garden issue because, as Bob Bashan said, it is what it is. You'll have to deal with whatever happens, and we'll learn from this one and we'll move forward. But for something that is based on what the acting manager said, you have about 500 parking spaces for something you're trying to sell 4,000 tickets to. So just as everybody aware that's going to be a cluster mess out there, it is what it is, and you'll learn from it. I just want to touch upon how interesting is that the Oaks, the value of the land, when you do an appraisal, came in close to $900,000 per acre, yet you all just sold Solomia land for $400,000 an acre. And boy, if they pay us a little bit faster, they're going to give us another $25,000 an acre after that. And if they close within 60 days, we get an extra $50,000 per acre. And you're getting paid over time by the billionaire company. You're not even getting your money at closing. So when the residents, and I'm included, get up here and we say we're not getting fair value, this is a perfect example of an outfit. I'm glad. I support Solomia 100%. And we really need it, and it's really going to change this community. It already has. It's already given you money to play with that you don't even have yet, and you're ready to spend it. But let's make sure we get the fair value for it going forward. Us residents who've lived here for a long time spent $30 million to save that property. And it originally was supposed to be part of a park. I'm glad what's out there now. But let's make sure we fully fund that little community center that we're going to get out of the hundreds of acres out there.
It's not going to be little.
No, okay, whatever it is. But compared to 300-acre park originally, but the beautiful community center that's planned, let's make sure we fully fund that. Let's make sure we fully fund Cagney Park because we owe it to the residents before we spend the money on anything else. We promised we would replace Cagney Park because the residents gave up the property to build first-class schools. And we saved Solomia, we saved the Inarama track for us. We turned it into a glorified shopping center and residential community. That's fine. We're going to make money out of it. But let's make sure that this community and the community center that Scott is proposing and others are proposing get built, fully funded, not piecemeal over years, and let's get Cagney Park done. I know the costs are becoming exorbitant and issues are coming up, but let's make sure we take care of that. And again, I agree with you all to wait till you have the money in your hand. Thank you.
And I understand that I think season form is now closed. And we are committed that Councilman Scott project will move forward, and we fully committed to achieve our goal with Cagney Park. That's when it was a $10.5 million project. We were able to secure that money, and now after the negotiation, it's been 10 years since we plugged the numbers, and now with the cost of construction, we're almost at $14 million or close to, and those two projects will be the first project that's going to be done from any money coming into the city. That's the guarantee that I can give you. The center, I think there's a need. I do understand that Solomia is in District 1, and it's fair that they be able to build a center for the citizen of the area and for the citizen of North Miami, because it's gonna help the entire city. Anywhere you live in the city, you will be able to use that facility. And look at now, when you're looking at North Miami Stadium, for example, and the Super Bowl committee gonna use it for the event. Last week, Zoe Alonzo Mourning Foundation used it instead of going all the way to Miramar on 168th Street, and they decided to come to the city of North Miami. That's when he served the entire city, and you have Madame Gugus coming in every year. That's when we build something in the city, it's for the citizen of the entire city. That's when we all committed to build that community center on Solomia site, and it's not for the people in District 1 or 2, is for the entire residents of the city of North Miami. The same way this council committed to Cagney. Cagney is in District 3, but I won't be able to secure that money if I did not have the support of all council members. That's mean we do understand that, and we committed that any money coming in, yes, we're gonna have the money for the community center, and we're gonna build Cagney Park. After that, some money gonna go toward or deficit, and then after that, people can decide to do whatever they recommend. That's been those three things gonna be taken in consideration: Cagney Park, the center, and toward the deficit, and so and so. And now, as far as reports, let me hear from Councilwoman Kawakis.
I just want to, I know he's left the room, but I wanted to thank our manager, Larry Spring, for all of the service he's given us, the expertise, experience. Learned a lot from him, so I wanted to thank him. That's it.
Yes, sir.
I would like to nominate Robin Tisdale for the Parks Commission. My other appointee, Eddie Moliner, resigned this week, so Robin graciously said she would serve. She also sits on our University Relations Board, and she lives on Hibiscus Circle in Keystone 2120. So I'd like to place Mrs. Tisdale, a wonderful mom of two beautiful children, for our Parks Commission.
Not old enough for the youth board.
No, they're little.
Think, Madam Clerk, you got it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, do you need a vote?
It doesn't specify that this requires a vote. Let me
Okay.
check.
Move approval.
Second.
Second, and we all approve.
All
it.
in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, council members.
Thank you very much, and Council, you done for your
That's it, I'm done,
reports?
yeah, thank you.
Councilwoman Estimé.
Good evening again, everyone. Last council meeting, we approved a resolution for human trafficking, and I really want to bring up and talk about that, especially with the NFL. These are times when traffickers are really taking advantage of our youth. So there's a couple of pointers that I'd like to share. So colleagues, there's a situation impacting our county and our state. In reality, is a situation impacting the world, and it's human trafficking. The International Labor Organization estimates that there are 20.9 million victims of trafficking around the world. Domestically, Florida ranks as the third in the nation in the calls of National Human Trafficking Hotline. The average age of traffic victims is the age of used for commercial sex is between the age of 12 and 14. Miami-Dade ranks as the first sex trafficking in Florida. The statistics are disturbing, and although Miami is often referred to as the magic city, there is nothing magical about this conversation. I'm doing my part to make sure this conversation is taking place in North Miami. So tomorrow, Word in Action and I will host a human trafficking rally with students in the community tomorrow, the 29th, in participation with victims, specialized survivors, mental health therapists, and more, to talk about this sensitive conversation. And we'll because of the sensitivity of the subject and because of the kids that we'll have, we'll distribute a post-release to talk about this matter. Secondly, Valentine's Day is coming up soon, and I'm excited to say that we have a rendezvous at Griffin Center February 13 with our seniors, 65 and plus. You're invited to come and just have a good time. If you want some more information and this limited spacing, please call 305-788-2592 or email district3@northmiamifl.gov. Like mentioned earlier, our prayers and thought goes out to the Cuban and to Cuba and Jamaica for the earthquake that they're experiencing. And if I'm missing anything else, I don't know, but thank you for your time. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you very much. And now, as far as reports, I received a couple letters, and now I'm going to start read them to you, and especially those important letters from and throughout the state. And the first letter is to the city manager, and it's between the personnel department and IT. I think you guys need to put your act together because, and we all remember that we ordered a forensic audit That's mean we ask the state to come in and looking at our financial situation, and it was 19 or 21 and fact found in that audit, and they give us time to fix them. And as of right now, from the letter that I received from the joint chair of the state auditor, and I don't have the letter in front of me because I think I hand it over to you. We have 2 left out of the 19 things that need to be fixed. That means the state tell me in the letter they send me, we're in compliance with 17. We have 2 left, and I think it's IT and personnel. I don't know if it's IT is responsible or personnel or both of them together, and I have to answer by March 23rd, something like that. That letter, please and sit down with IT and personnel to fix that so we can be in complete compliance with all the thing that have been found doing that forensic audit. And that's the first thing, letter that I received from that. The second letter is from the state attorney's office, and the letter, it's a letter of support for the city of North Miami Police Department in the efforts to secure funding from the 2020-2021 Victims of Crime Act, called VOCA, for the continuation of the North Miami Police Department advocacy program. It's an interested letter, and it's been signed by Catherine Fernandez Rondold and sent to me, and one was sent to the chief in support of that program. That's when the state attorney's office understand that in the city of North Miami, especially at the police department, we do have, and they're seeking funding for that program, and it's been around for 11 years, and it's a full-time victims advocate, and who continues to provide support to victims of domestic violence, violent crimes, and survivors of homicides. That means it's a letter of support, and we want to thank the police department for having a full-time person and taking care of those victims, and that's the letter of support. And Madam Chief of Staff, and if you can hand it over to the clerk department, and I don't know if for public record, whatever it is. And the other letter that I received is from Florida House of Representatives, and where they said that please take note of legislation passed in the 2019 session and signed by Governor DeSantis, and now local government is prohibited from requiring notice, application approval, permit, fee, or mitigation for the removal of any tree on residential property. That means now the city cannot prevent someone from removing a tree inside of the property if an arborist or a landscape architect documents that the tree presents a danger to persons or property. That means the local government will be prohibited for that, and I think and the bill that passed is CSHB 1159. And Madam Clerk, I don't know, Madam Chief of Staff, if you can pass all those to the city clerk. That's means so, Mr. City Attorney, I think if you can please update our code, and because right now, and any arborist or landscape architect, if they declare that that tree is a danger to the person living in that property, or it's dangerous to the property, that means they can remove it without local government consent. Only been passed, and we have to update and our code about it. And I think that concludes my report. Madam Clerk, your report.
Good evening, everyone. Today, January 28th, is actually National Plan for Vacation Day, even though we just probably came off
National what?
vacations. National Plan for Vacation
Oh.
Day. So it's the best time for me to remind you that we do offer passport services down here in the office of the city clerk on the first floor. In addition to that, we wanted to, or I had suggested that we do some board appointments, and so if the council would like, we have about 4 boards that are in need of quorum, or most in need because they're more active, and one of them being the library board. Is anybody ready to make appointments to that board?
Do we have the applications?
Everyone should have a binder that contains the applications.
Madam Clerk, there's a applicant that has advised me that she applied, and I'm not seeing her application. Her name is Rose Anha?
Cruz Michel Grandpierre?
No,
No? Okay.
Rose Anha. Are you,
I don't recall seeing that name as having submitted an application. And now I'm looking, what's the last name?
if I'm not mistaken, it's ACHONG?
Oh, okay, Rose. No, I don't recall seeing an application from Rose.
Okay.
Are you done?
Although
with
she
it?
is a friend of the North Miami, she's
Right.
friends of the North Miami Library. So I'm
Correct.
not sure if she's mixed the two up.
Well, I'd like to appoint her. She stated to me that she applied.
But
I'm
one
going to
thing,
get clarification, but
remember
I'd like to
last time we
appoint.
said not without applications.
Correct. So let me just say it on the record. She said to me that she did submit an application. I don't know
Oh,
what's in
okay, okay.
between, and she submitted this
can-
application a long time ago. So I just wanted to be able to appoint her at the moment that we can, to the library board as soon as we can locate that application.
Where is it in the package?
So for the sake of
saw
transparency,
it?
I checked my email, it's not there, so it would have had to be in hand delivered. I'm happy to have a conversation with Ms. Rose
Oh,
to further investigate the issue and see what may have happened, and then maybe at the next board meeting, at the next council meeting, we can go
No
ahead
problem.
and proceed with that.
Thank you.
Mayor Bienemé, would you like to make an appointment? No?
Library board right now, right?
Anybody.
Well,
No, we're going to try to go in order just to keep it simple. So does anybody else have any?
Didn't I appoint Marcela Gutierrez?
Let me see.
I mean, I can't even remember, it's been so long.
Generally,
Marcelo
you are the
Gutierrez.
only one who is current with almost all of your boards. I think that this one is expired, though.
You want to reappoint that
I had
person?
No,
Marcelo
my
Gutierrez?
appointee moved, and I believe.
I mean, you
was-
can make the appointment tonight.
Well, I thought I had already done it, so I believe
Okay.
this lady's name is here, Marcela Gutierrez. Is that who I previously appointed?
Yes.
Okay, so her application's still in here, but I did appoint her several months ago.
Can you,
Can you
have
check
the-
your email
Do you
for
have
me?
who is on the board?
I have her
right now?
application right here.
But is that the person I sent you the name?
Let me see. Did you send me this email recently?
No, it was months ago.
Okay. Okay, I know what your email you're talking about.
But can you tell me who's on the board? Do you have that in front of you?
What are you asking, Mayor?
The board of the library board, do you have a list of who's in there now?
They're all expired.
Or they're all expired?
Yes.
I see.
So
Judy
for
Brown.
example, you have Blanca Cobo, who could be reappointed, Dr. Alan Smith, who was previously appointed by Councilman Galvin.
What about Judy
Ms.
Brown?
Judy Brown could be reappointed as well.
Okay, we
Miss-
appoint
On the
Judy
library?
Brown, yeah.
Miss-
Yes, go ahead.
I've said it before, I want to say it again. Anybody who I have already previously appointed to any board whose term has expired, I wish to reappoint that person so that we don't have to go through the long arduous process. So I've always prided myself on having all of my board appointees in place, so I make the motion that anybody who I've, like Dr. Smith, who I've previously appointed, if their term has run out, just please reappoint them.
And if you would check for my email too.
I checked and I don't have any for the library board. You did make to the Downtown Action Plan Advisory Committee. I believe maybe the Personnel Board.
No, it was about 4 months ago when Inez moved. I'll go back and look and give you that name.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, can we have Judy Brown and
Yes.
Blanca Cobo reappointed?
Okay.
Okay, how does it work? We all get one appointee, or we can just fill in the gap?
Each member of the city council shall nominate one member. It is subject to approval of a majority of the city council.
Yes. Blanca Cobo and Judy Brown.
But how are you appointing two, Mayor?
Relax.
He's
What you
reappointing
mean?
council
I'm
members.
just doing this reappointing
Yes,
people
but
we need on the board.
I understand that, but
Do you wanna
somebody has to,
appoint
no,
someone?
I have someone else to appoint, Mr. Mayor, and
Who
I'm
do you
waiting.
want? Go ahead.
Rose, but her application, Rose says her application was submitted, the clerk said
That's
it's
when
not,
yours is
so,
empty.
correct, and I will wait to
We-
appoint,
We okay with that?
Yeah.
right, but we all each
Carol
have
Key's
one.
gonna appoint, and Judy Brown
Yours is still
and me,
vacant.
Blanca Cobo.
I'm
We
gonna
two.
go back and check my email.
Let's finish two people who've been there.
I would
It's
approve second Rose,
Yeah.
I don't know that you have to have your application,
I mean,
so I would approve
it would-
Can you appoint Judy Brown?
No, I have someone I've already appointed,
Oh.
so now I gotta go back and look.
Okay, can I think it's two people from Councilman Desilmay. Can you appoint Blanca Cobo and Judy Brown?
Yes, I sent it on,
We send it.
okay, I'm gonna appoint Marcela Gutierrez.
Yes, I have that.
Okay,
Okay, so would you all like to vote as what we have so far? So the reappointment of Blanca Cobo, Dr. Alan Smith, and Judy Brown, as well as Marcela Gutierrez. Is there a motion?
And I'd like to also appoint Rose and Hodge, and then we can deal with her application later.
Don't have, if the application
In
is
the
not
past, you
there,
all
you
have-
cannot appoint it. We
Right,
say
it
that.
still
Okay.
remains vacant, so it doesn't
what you
mean that
can do
somebody's
it at the
taken
next-
over your appointment.
Those are, we're talking about application, people who've been there already on the board and just reappoint
I
them.
understand that, but everybody has a right to appoint one person. I'm appointing my person, and so.
You have that.
Right,
You just don't have an application. That's when you're gonna do that next
Okay.
council meeting. We're not taking your spot. Okay, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Would you like to call the vote?
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? So the appointments are made 4-0.
Do we have any other appointments?
Yes, the Quality Education Board.
Do you have any?
I think I've already appointed everybody.
Okay.
I have an appointment for the advisory board, the CRA advisory that I'd like to appoint someone. I'd like to appoint Kenny Each to the CRA board.
Madam Clerk, are we there?
Yeah, let me go back to that,
To where?
to the CRA, because I was at Quality Education. Okay. All in favor?
Of what?
To appoint Kenny Each to the CRA.
Wait, give me a second, let me get it. Who's on the board right now?
So you have Michael McDermott.
Who appointed him?
You did.
You know who? You can, where is that? Representative Marie estimé 21
Would you like me to continue with the list, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Okay. Michael McDermott, Clark Reynolds, Lumana Joseph, Claudio Sanchez, Holly Cohen, Carol Geimer, Blanca Cobo, Emmanuel Gentil.
That's mean, how many vacant position do we have?
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 vacant?
Right.
Who are vacancy?
We have 2 for District 3 and
2 for District 3?
right.
2 vacant?
2 vacant, yeah.
Okay. Why is 2?
And then
That's
we
actually
have-
not correct. I only have one vacancy. I have a business owner and then I have I'm appointing a resident.
How many people are on that board? The CRA?
Okay. Okay. So one business at large is missing.
How many people, okay, who have appointees?
So the
Who
first
do I
thing that
have?
I want to mention is that in the transfer to this new website,
Mhm.
we discovered that a lot of information is actually missing from the old one.
I
So
see.
I'm going to review all of that,
Okay,
just in general, because a lot of the missing links and things like that.
Okay.
However, Jerome McCain was appointed, so we do have a business at large that remains to be appointed.
Okay. Do you want to appoint business at large?
Can you speak into
Okay.
the mic? I can't hear.
No,
Okay,
I'm not ready
no-
to do that tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So would we like to continue with board appointments at the next council meeting?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney. Your reports.
Just would like to say on the letter you just read about the plants and trees, that already exists in our code, so there's no need to bring that back as an ordinance.
Okay, it's already there. That's mean, but how come sometimes they issue violation of $500 for people cutting trees inside of the property?
I believe what you read is that if the tree is not a prohibited species, and if the tree is dead, damaged by wind, fire, etc., and doesn't and which poses an imminent danger to property, that's an exemption.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at the
Yeah,
letter
but
that you
the way
sent.
the way in the one that been sent by the Speaker of the House to me, it's like he said, any arborist or a landscape architect that declare that the resident is free to remove it without anything from the local government. It's something that just passed. That's been.
I'll take a look at the letter, man.
Okay, it's not something. You, huh? No, for protected trees, that's different. Like the preserve and thing like that. We're still under the same provision. We're talking about any other trees. That's mean, and I know a lot of residents with those big oaks trees, and that cover the entire roof, and they still cannot remove it right now. They issue violation of $500. Now they'll be able to remove those trees. But an architect, a landscape architect or an arborist have to declare that a danger in order for you to remove it. You cannot just say, yes, you represent that, and you remove it on your own. And City Manager, do you have any reports?
Just again, like to wish Mr. Larry Spring from the administration well. For anybody that wants to come, we're having people just show up to Cafe Crib. You got to buy your own food and drinks, though. But we're gonna have something for him tomorrow, right after work around 5:30. If you want to say goodbye to Larry. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. No more reports.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All in favor? All opposed? 5-0.
Running. Mayor, I'll probably see you tomorrow.